I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the two Mikes on Talk Sport. Chelsea took another giant step towards the Premier League title last night as they dispatched Middlesbrough down into the Championship along with their North East neighbours Sunderland. We'll hear some gloating from Steve Lillywhite, big Chelsea fan, and of course Grammy Award-winning producer of U2. Also, Tim Vickery will be on the show live from Brazil with all the news from his part of the world. Porky will be telling us why he thinks that Chelsea are the best owned club in the country. 08717 223344. Also coming up on the show, it is a special edition of Postman Pork, so if you sent something in, it might well see the light of day, and we'll be putting that out live on Facebook. And it's Heroes and Villains night as well. Plus, as if all that's not enough, we'll be making a bit of an announcement. You're listening to the two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the two Mikes, and of course it's time to say a very, very good morning for the start of another week to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike, and what a thrilling weekend, eh? It really was.
What a thrilling weekend,
and
yes.
Newcastle now champions of the Championship, coming
Indeed.
back up with Brighton.
Yes.
And I did tweet out all of the weekend saying how much I welcome those two clubs back into the elite.
And I'm sure they really appreciate your warmth and,
I would think
your very, very nice welcome that you're giving them,
Yeah.
especially when you mentioned that you'd be going to see them both.
Yes.
You know, because you do like going to Newcastle at best times you can, and you like going to Brighton as well.
Well, Brighton's just down the road, you see, from Stockbroker Belt.
Did you manage to get any responses from either of the clubs saying how they're going to welcome you with open arms and be more than happy to put you into the most expensive part of the stadium?
Not from the clubs themselves, but I mean the fans naturally, knowing what an ambassador of goodwill I am, welcome me with open arms both in Brighton and Newcastle.
Because people are still saying that it was a disgraceful sort of performance by you on Saturday when you told that guy from the south of Wales, from the Everton Supporters Club, how you always go first class on the train, and of course you always must sit in the most expensive seat that you can find.
No, I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
No, I said that I've got a good season ticket.
And you always stay in five-star hotels.
Well, that's what I like to do. Yeah. That's what I do with my dosh.
Well, he was talking about spending hours and hours and hours on a bus.
7 hours.
With his friends and fellow Evertonians to go and watch a game that he loves in a place where he loves to go. And time for him is of no consequence.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, well, time's valuable to me, so I have to be more circumspect with how I spend it and not waste it. You know what I mean? Not that I'm suggesting the boy was wasting his time. And I got a lot of fury from fans yesterday. Yesterday being Sunday.
Well, you generally get a lot of fury over the course of the weekend, don't you?
Because, I was watching the United game, and my instincts about Wayne Rooney are that you can criticise him for slowing down as he gets older. You could even say that, perhaps he doesn't fit into Jose Mourinho's plans. But what you can never criticise that boy for is effort.
Well, effort is all very well.
And application and energy.
Yeah, but effort is fine and dandy.
And to never say die.
Yeah, but it's a terribly English kind of trait that people love to go, they tried their best.
Yeah.
In the end, if you're trying your best and it's not working, then it's time to stop.
I think
it's time to give up.
The minute he's so alert as to dash between two defenders, intercept a ball, and then very nearly score, except for the fact that the goalkeeper, with flailing arms and legs managed to keep it out. And the fact that he peppers in a shot from 20 yards out, nobody's expecting it, the goalkeeper has to stretch over his right-hand side.
I'm sure you would have seen the statistics that were put out around his performance, right?
You're talking about the marks out of 10.
Not just the marks.
A lot of journalists.
No, not just the marks out of 10.
Because in some of those, he was rated United's best player, and in some, he was rated worse.
No, not just the marks out of 10. These are the ones I'm talking about. These were put out by a couple of the football sites. Wayne Rooney's game by numbers versus Arsenal. 7 failed crosses. Shots off target, 4. Chances created, 1. Take-ons, 0. Tackles, 1. 0. Yeah. That's the statistics of his 90 minutes on the pitch.
Yeah, but they're all negative statistics. The fact is that if you attempt crosses and you don't make crosses, you're still attempting a cross.
No, it's a positive. There is 1 chance created. I'm sorry, for £300,000 a week, I think I would be entitled to want a little bit more from somebody who has been in the past a magnificent player for Manchester United and for England, but has just no longer got it. Simple as that, isn't it?
Not that interested in what you think, to be honest.
Well, it's not what I think, matey. It is what the football websites and the collectors of...
What was that? Matey?
Matey.
Is this another endearing term, is it? Matey?
Matey is what I call people shortly before I'm about to embark upon some kind of
act of violence.
Retribution.
You're getting a bit like that, You shouldn't have given up cigarettes because it's changed your personality.
Well, you say that.
You're rather an aggressive and yes, rather austere and cold. And
Actually, not true.
Have quite a superior attitude about yourself now because you've given up cigarettes.
No, I don't.
You think you deserve more respect in life?
I don't actually. I've never thought I deserve any kind of respect.
Well,
I don't seek respect.
You're right about that.
I don't seek respect. I do not seek the sort of adulation of the populace in the same way that you do.
No, I don't.
You know, you go around thinking that you're the man of the people, calling yourself
not
that,
at all.
and wishing that for all the world that people thought of you in the same way that they think of me, which is as somebody who's rather quiet, contemplative,
really
thoughtful, and not just self-interested.
I see. Well, I had a great weekend anyway.
I see.
I had a great weekend because I spent
I'm very happy for you.
I spent most of it reading from cover to cover the Sunday Times magazine Rich List 2017.
Well, of course, we spoke to the editorial director of the Sunday Times, Ms. Eleanor Mills, on Saturday, as we often do.
Yeah.
And she gave us a few little good snippets from there. Your man Bashiri's in there.
Yes, that's right.
As is, of course, Roman Abramovich.
Yeah, and Mr. Usmanov.
Yeah. Mr. Usmanov is also in there.
Yeah.
And not too many sort of football owners.
No.
Ellis Short is in there as well from Sunderland.
Yes, that's right, he is.
Spotted him.
But there are so many people in here who you've never heard of. Who've got fortunes of 20 and 30 million.
Amazing, they've never been in touch with you.
No. And also, the one I particularly like was Steve Morgan, 831 million.
Yeah, I had to do a double take on that because, of course, we know another Steve Morgan.
Yeah,
and
we
I was
do.
thinking
We
to
do.
myself, has this guy been hiding something?
That's right, yeah.
He's the Red Road guy,
This is the Red Road guy, born in Liverpool, started with one house in Flintshire, now has a fortune which would exceed £1 billion, except that he's given so much away. He's given over 200 million away. So a terrific man who bought Wolves for £10 and sold it for 30 million.
Right.
So that's quite good business, isn't it?
And is he not involved now in some other football club?
I don't think so. He tried to buy Liverpool Football Club.
He did try. Was he not involved with somebody else more recently?
He may well have been, but I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
No, what I was going to say to you was, talking about, within the Rich List there, of course, are football owners. Now, I touched on this earlier when we were talking to Tony and Mr. Goldstein, and... if you had, you have a Manager of the Year award, you have a Footballer of the Year award, and all these sort of things.
Did you vote in that, by the way, the football writers?
I did.
Who did you vote for? Did you vote for the man that won it?
No, I voted for Dele Alli.
Did you?
Yeah.
He came third.
He came third, yeah.
In the case of the Porky Jinx, then.
Well, not really. It's just I think he's such an outstanding player. I don't resent the boy Ngali winning it. That's fine, no problem at all. Terrific player. I just thought Ali was more of my cup of tea.
Right.
But anyway, what I was going to say is you couldn't have an Owner of the Year every year because that would basically be the same award as the Manager of the Year, I think. But you could have an Owner of the Decade.
Really? Is that not open to kind of, not misuse or gerrymandering, but I mean, people would be sort of sucking up to owners, wouldn't they, to make them the victor of
maybe. But the point I'm going to make is that easily the best owner of a football club in this country is Mr. Abramovich. Without a shadow of a doubt. Roman Abramovich is a ruthless businessman, and he knows exactly when he has to make business decisions which
he's
turn
also
his
got
businesses...
a bottomless pit of money, hasn't he?
Well, but so have Manchester United, and they can't get it right.
Well, not quite so much. We don't know whether they can get it right. I mean, Chelsea have had some lean years, not least last year.
Yeah, but they don't last long, Mike.
No.
Chelsea's lean years don't last very long.
Right.
When something goes wrong, Mr. Abramovich just sacks the manager and puts it right.
Yeah.
And he always seems to get the right manager. When he doesn't get the right manager, like Big Phil, the man who took Brazil to the World Cup...
Big Phil Scolari.
Pinnacle.
He's in
China, yeah. When he decided he wasn't working, despite his reputation, whoosh, he was out after less than a year.
Yep.
So Mr. Abramovich is the best owner by a mile.
He did also get rid of the manager after they won the Champions League.
He certainly did.
Did he not?
He certainly did.
But we'll never know whether that was a good idea or not because they didn't win it the second year.
No, but they got back to winning ways by winning Premier Leagues by getting Jose back. I mean, every decision he's made so far has been absolutely right. Now, we don't know if Manchester United's owners are any good because for years they just sat back and let Sir Alex Ferguson win every trophy under the sun for them. And then when Sir Alex went and the challenge...
And they also had David Gill, who was a very, very good chief executive.
Totally agree. And before that, Peter Kenyon. So they've had good people running the club. I totally agree.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that now that they've had to face the challenge replacing Sir Alex Ferguson, they simply haven't been up to it so far.
And David Gill, I think having not replaced David Gill or having him leave at the same time was as bad a mistake as actually, anybody could have ever made. I mean, it's one thing to let Alex Ferguson leave, but to let the other guy go in the same year was madness.
People have ambitions and want to go places in life. But if you look at the owners of Arsenal, then it's a failure over the last few years.
Well, you would say...
And I'm not talking manager, I'm talking owner. If you look at the owners...
It's a failure in what sense, though? Because they haven't won anything.
Yes.
Right.
If you look at the owners of Manchester United, they've failed ever since Sir Alex Ferguson left, because it's all very well saying, well, Jose got the League Cup and he might get the Europa League.
They haven't won the league.
Does anybody think they're going to be Premier League champions next year?
Arsenal.
No, Manchester United.
Manchester United. No, I don't think so.
I don't either.
Well, I think Andy Goldstein might think that, but I mean, we know that he can sometimes thinks of things which are not entirely realistic.
Well, he works for Old Trafford, doesn't he, or United TV?
I think he does some things with MUTV.
So he's perfectly entitled to have a persuasive view, because I have a persuasive view about Everton, so that's not a problem. But no, what I was going to say was that the only club who consistently gets it right through manager after manager, and everybody says, oh, you've got to have consistency at your club, you've got to stick with your manager. No, Mr. Abramovich doesn't stick with the manager, he does exactly the opposite.
That's right.
And he keeps getting consistent results. Manchester City are struggling to find out if they're good owners.
But the Manchester City outfit have won a few Premier Leagues, haven't they, in the same way that Chelsea have? And
yes,
so you
in
would
very
be wrong
much the
to
same
say...
way as Mr. Abramovich. They've changed the manager and still got victory.
So you're saying they're doing the right thing?
I'm saying they're doing more the right thing than the owners of Arsenal or Manchester United are doing, or Liverpool as well.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, we shall see. I don't know if you can be proved right on that.
I can be proved right, because I am right.
No, you're not right. I think
the results show that I'm right.
No, they don't. I think if your results were right, then you would have to say that Chelsea have won the Premier League more times than any other team since Roman Abramovich has been in charge.
Yes.
And I don't think that's true.
What?
I don't think that's true.
No, Sir Alex Ferguson was around at Manchester United, that's why.
Well, in that case, look at the time.
But three different managers have won Premier League titles for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Ancelotti, Jose, and who was the third one? Oh, and Conte's going to as well.
Will.
Right?
That's
Conte
only two then in the past.
No,
so this will be the third.
It'll be three next Friday, by Friday. By West Brom on Friday.
So far, they've only won two Premier League titles.
Twice. One won the titles, went away, came back and won them again. So that's four. That's four.
Rubbish.
It's four.
Rubbish. This is Talk Sport.
Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York.
Time for that announcement.
Indeed.
Well, would you like to give it, or shall I?
Well, I think we can jointly say that we're going to New York. When are we going?
We're going in September.
That's right. Where are we going to perform?
We're going to perform at a place called the City Winery.
And where is it?
It's in Varick Street, downtown. It's in Soho, actually.
Yeah.
Near the West Village. One of the most trendy parts of the country.
That's right.
One of the most trendy parts of the city, I should say.
Yes.
The show is going to be a mid-afternoon show, 2:30 kick-off.
Yeah.
Because not only are you able to go there and watch us live, if you wish to go to New York and do that, on the 17th, it's a Sunday of September, but you can also sign up and watch it live, because we're going to stream it live on Facebook.
We certainly are.
Yeah.
So if you thought it was great to pay your subscription to watch that brilliant fight recently, old Joshua and who did he fight?
Klitschko,
that's him. Yeah, Joshua.
The guy
Klitschko.
you said was going to win.
That's right, I did. Yeah. You can do exactly the same with the two mics.
You can.
And the reason we're doing it at 2:30 in New York on a Sunday is because Mike and I have very fond memories of Sunday brunch, which always used to start about 11 o'clock. With
well, this is a bit like brunch with the two mics.
It's brunch with the two mics, and you have a bit of brunch there in one of those fabulous restaurants.
Bit of
in New
mimosa.
York. Bit of mimosa,
bit of steak and eggs.
Bit of steak and eggs, all that kind of stuff. Ham, sausages,
Bloody Marys.
Bloody Marys. And then get down to the winery.
The City Winery, where they make their own wine, by the way, so you'll be in great shape, won't you? Because you won't even have to go very far to find the actual big kettles full of wine.
Absolutely.
They're never going to run out,
Absolutely. The show will last just under 2 hours. It'll be in two parts, as it is here.
Really?
And we will probably release that as a Christmas video as well. But in between time, if you go to the 2mics.co.uk, which is our website now, the page is up there illuminating exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
And the way it works, folks, is that if you sign up now for under a fiver, it's £4.95, isn't it?
Fine, $4.99, I think.
$4.99, there you go. I told you it was under a fiver, got that right. You will be able to see all the build-up to the show and, things that we'll be doing between now and going. And then the day before the show in New York, and then take the show live.
Yeah. The point about the show being live as well and being streamed is that we will not actually be part of. I mean, there may be parts of it that are edited into a Christmas video that we're going to do.
Yes,
but it will be the only time you get to see it. It will not be filmed in its entirety as a show.
In its entirety, you can only watch it live on the streaming.
Exactly.
But outtakes from the show will be included in the package of the Two Mics in New York in much the same way as we did the DVD from Edinburgh last year.
Similarly to that, but different, of course. Now, the thing that you need to know about the City Winery is, first of all, if you go onto the Two Mics Twitter, you can see the link there. This is a venue that has hosted the likes of this, right? Eric Burdon and the Animals, Art Garfunkel, Chris Christopherson, Bruce Hornsby, and not necessarily the Range, Jackson Brown, Billy Bragg, Joan Armour Trading, and now, of course, the Two Mics going to play.
Absolutely, we certainly are.
So we're very excited about it, so please do. If you live in the States, we'd love you to come. If you live in this country, we'd love you to come.
Yes.
There will be some information being put out on the website as well about places you can stay, ways you can get there, all that kind of stuff as well. So it's going to be a very exciting month of September, I would say.
We will be circulating all the supporters clubs of the English clubs in this country around America, because some people might want to fly over from the coast or something like that.
Absolutely right, yeah. We've got a lot of fans over there.
We've got a lot of fans over there, so we're looking forward to what's going to be a bumper weekend.
Absolutely right, yes. Craig says this, Porky, who's Ngali? Don't you mean N'Golo Kante?
Yeah, that's who I mean.
Tag Plank, yes,
that's exactly who I mean, don't worry about that.
And Al Stoddard says, who did Porky say won Player of the Year? Ngali? Who won Manager of the Year? Svengali?
No. N'Golo Kante, of course, is the boy.
Yeah, of course.
But known as Gali to his
Adrian
friends.
says this, if Mike Parry decided to latch on to Newcastle and Brighton, both will certainly go straight back down again next May.
No, they won't. Brighton's just down the A23, M23, right? It's a fast road past Gatwick Airport. Well, no, if you're coming from Stockbroker Belt...
Yeah, but not everybody's coming from where you're coming from.
You come on to the M23...
but for example, if I'm going there, I won't be going that way, will I?
Yes, you will.
Because, no, I won't.
You will.
Because I don't live in Surrey.
Listen, your best route, honestly, is to come around the M25
that's all rubbish.
And then go down the M23. Otherwise, you're going around country roads into Brighton.
I'm coming from the south coast.
Yeah, but that's the A27. That's a slower road.
Oh, so what? I should drive all the way up to the M25 and down again?
Yeah, of course you should. Of course you should.
Absolute
because it doesn't take long at all.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is typical of you, because you think everything revolves around your little world.
And the minute I see the fixtures out next year, and whenever Newcastle are entertaining Everton, which, incidentally, in the last 2 years they were in the Premier League, always happened on Boxing Day or New Year's Day.
Oh, yeah. So were you able to go then?
No, I wasn't. No, we were working on both those days. I shall be booking into the, what's it called? The
Sandman.
The Sandman, that's right. Yeah. So that I can enjoy a few sherbets in the company of beautiful people in the...
You've never got over that,
the Shark Bar. No,
you never got over that place.
No,
you shouldn't have gone to bed so early. You could have stayed up later and had more fun.
I look after myself on those occasions.
Really? That's not what I've heard.
Now then, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, go on.
I want to talk to you about a report which is going to be, it's already published in the papers, which show the most astonishing figures I've ever seen for paying footballers. Astronomical figures paid by Manchester United to sign Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Paul Pogba. Ibrahimovic, yeah. And Paul Pogba. Pogba can today be revealed by Sports Mail. Now...
This is an astonishing amount of money, this, by the way.
Hang on. United are set to finish outside the Premier League's top four, despite capturing two of the biggest names in football on jaw-dropping contracts negotiated by their agent, Mino Raiola.
Yes.
Ibrahimovic is the best paid player in the Premier League, who gets £367,640 a week. Do you realise that some people in this country, on the average wage, get £640 a week?
£640 a week, yes, and some people actually get less than that.
That's right, not the additional 300,000, right? Yeah. And it totals just over 19 million, that's 19 million in 1 year.
That's amazing. He's got bonuses on top of that, right?
Yeah, he's also due £2.86 million in goal bonuses.
Right.
Pogba, on the other hand, he's still very young, isn't he? Is he 23, Pogba?
No, he's not sure he's even that, is he?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's 23.
Yeah.
Earns a basic wage of £8.61 million, equating to £165,588 a week.
Yep.
Again, some people in this country would be happy with £588 a week.
Yeah.
Never mind the £165,000.
Well, I mean, in some places, that's the average wage.
It is, yeah. And will receive an annual loyalty bonus in excess of £3.4 million from next year.
See, the loyalty bonus
figures are astonishing.
The loyalty bonus thing really is just a ruse, isn't it? I mean, that's just to find another way of paying you extra money.
Exactly.
Because I mean, what would a loyalty bonus be? Why wouldn't you be loyal to the club that you're signed under contract to perform for?
Yes, that's right.
You know what I'm saying?
But perhaps the most astonishing... no, you're right. Perhaps the most astonishing figures in this is what Mino Raiola got from the Pogba transfer, right?
Yes.
He got £22.8 million from the £89 million fee.
Right.
What's that?
22.8.
He's got 22.8.
Well, I think it was roughly 30% he got, didn't he?
No, that's 25%, isn't it? But he's getting future payments in 5 instalments of £16.39 million.
Very nice.
And he's getting an extra payment, which is paid to him by the player, of £2.2 million. So, therefore, negotiating the deal to take Pogba to Manchester United, and Manchester United wanted him anyway. It wasn't exactly a hard sell, was it?
Yes.
Has gained him £41.39 million.
Why would he even need to do any more work?
I don't know.
I mean, he's only needed to really do one deal. I remember at the time when the Pogba deal was being done.
I have no idea.
Because the fee was meant to be somewhere around 30 million,
it
was very clear that was the one, it was basically one deal of a lifetime that you need to do. Why would you need to do any more?
Can I just say, please, all these figures are in a report in today's Daily Mail. Exclusive tag on a story by Chris Wheeler. They are all in the Daily Mail remit. We don't have any evidence here at TalkSport that these figures are entirely accurate. We are revealing to you what the report in the Daily Mail says.
I see. Well, thank you very much indeed for your honesty.
Yes.
How about this from James? Says Chelsea have won 4 league titles, whereas Manchester United have won 5 since Abramovich bought Chelsea in 2003.
Yes, I know.
So those are the official numbers.
Yeah, of course they are. But Sir Alex Ferguson was there except for the last 4 years at United, so he won all the titles for
but
them,
what I'm
didn't
saying is you can't then therefore say, obviously, Chelsea... I mean, it may well be that over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, Chelsea overtake Manchester United.
Of course they will.
And they have ended up winning, say, 6 league titles, and they may have had many different managers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting point that you make. I'm just not sure that it stands up as yet.
No, it does, because the point I'm trying to make is this. That the Glazers family, who owns Manchester United, didn't have to worry about changing their owner while they had changing their manager while they had Sir Alex Ferguson in place, because he won every year.
That's true, but were they not also partially stitched up by that very man? Because I said this at the time. Sir Alex Ferguson was the one who recommended David Moyes, right?
Yes.
He was the one who made that mistake in the first place, and they had no reason not to trust him because he was the guy that knew everything about football.
Do you think Roman Abramovich... Roman Abramovich.
That's a bit of a Freudian slip.
No, I call him Comrade because he comes from Russia, obviously, and he was there when it was
I bet you
still
wouldn't
a
call him
communist
that
state.
if you were in the same room as him, would you?
No, I wouldn't, because he'd have about 6 heavies there.
Yeah, I've just
who would
seen him
slap
actually
you around,
at Stamford Bridge, and there's one massive heavy standing just in front of him.
Exactly.
Sort of talking to him, and he very rarely smiles. I mean, he's got that
he
Russian...
smiles when Chelsea score. A smile flickers across his face.
But he's got that sort of Russian 1,000-yard stare, hasn't
That's
he?
right. But sorry, the point I'm making is this, right? The point I'm making is this, is that when Sir Alex Ferguson left and said, look, I can recommend... Mr. Abramovich would never have taken that. He would never have trusted the judgment of somebody else other than himself. And he'd have gone and sought advice from other areas to have got it right.
Very possibly. However, I mean, he didn't inherit a manager like Sir Alex Ferguson. If he had done, perhaps he would have taken the advice of the man who was going out, because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? That's the problem.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
Every owner, I bet, of every football club in the country would love to be able to replicate somebody like Sir Alex Ferguson.
Of course.
They don't want to keep changing their managers, but they're just not all very good.
No.
Becky down in New Zealand, big Chelsea fan, says, I'm now fearing the Porky jinx. Chelsea will lose the last 3 games. Arsenal win the FA Cup. Conte gets sacked. And a meteorite hits Stamford Bridge.
Well, I don't think any of that will happen, but... you have to look at the facts and figures of the situation. See, Mr. Abramovich seems to be fearless in getting rid of his managers.
Oh, yeah.
Who in his right mind would have got rid of Jose Mourinho twice?
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is with him as well, is that he involves himself very much in the day-to-day running of the club.
He does.
And he falls out with people, I think, because of the nature of these things. And I guess he just says, I'm the owner, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
William says this, how can anyone not like Sinatra's rendering of New York, New York? Absolutely classic. And Sean says he's going to fly into the New York show from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Is he?
How about that?
Excellent. Well done.
So
that's the sort of people we like.
A bit of get up and go.
Like the Palm Beach set.
Yes, of course you do.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
I'm an alien. I'm a legal alien. I'm an Englishman in New York. Whoa, I'm an alien. I'm a legal alien. I'm an Englishman in New York. If manners maketh manners, someone says.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Postman Pork coming up a little bit later on in this show as well.
Yes.
Paul says this, Parry's delivery is worse than Rooney's yesterday.
Hey?
I don't know what his delivery
What
is
sort of
talking
delivery
about.
are you talking about?
He's talking about your pronunciation. Dave says Pork is possibly the only person from Stockbroker Belt, Surrey, who describes where he lives as Stockbroker Belt, Surrey.
Yes.
Hashtag plank.
Why? What do other people describe
they just call it Surrey.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like to put a bit of a title onto it.
You like to make it sound better than it is, basically.
Livens things up a bit. You know what I mean?
Are you still moving, by the way?
I haven't decided yet.
You haven't decided?
No.
I thought you had decided.
No, it's part of my property portfolio review.
Oh, super.
Yes.
Well, how's the property portfolio doing? Because now we're in a new financial year.
The review...
Presumably there are other opportunities.
Well, there are other opportunities. I mean, I tell you what, look, I spent a lot of the weekend reading the Sunday Times Rich List. Fantastic. And I didn't... it makes... I shouldn't read it because it makes me feel like a peasant.
Well, you are a peasant.
When you see some of the adverts in this the Sunday Times Rich List, for instance, this one is for boats. It's called Royale Oceanic super yachts. Okay,
Royale with cheese.
Yeah, Royale. That's right. Yeah, that was in
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. That's right. Yeah, but I mean, look at this boat here. It's even better than most of the other boats I've seen. Look.
Yeah, what, is that an advert?
It's an advert.
Right.
But look at the yacht.
Well, that's ridiculous. It's about 100 million quid's worth.
Yeah, it's about 100 million quid's worth, and it's a super yacht, but it's got a swimming pool at the back, but it's got a launch on the back as well, which they can sort of put down into the water.
Presumably it's got a helicopter pad as well, is it?
Helicopter pad at the other end, yeah. But I mean, utterly fantastic.
Yeah, but that's the kind of stuff that nobody could ever afford to buy.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, there are only probably, 15, 20 people even on the rich list who could afford to buy that.
Well, you say that. There's an old friend of ours here, Mr. Richard Desmond.
Oh, yes.
Media and property, okay.
Owner of the Daily Express.
Owner of the Daily Express. It says he's worth 2.5 billion quid.
I'm not surprised.
And that's gone up 250 million since last year. So.
Well, every year I don't wish to put this in an unkind way.
Yeah.
Shall we say he recovers in investment that he put into the Daily Express.
Yes.
Every year by some tune of about 50 or 60 million.
That's right, yeah.
And meanwhile cuts the number of journalists working there.
Yes, that's
and
right.
people keep buying the paper.
That's right.
It's quite extraordinary.
It says Mr. Desmond is now a serious player in the London property world. I've told you all this, haven't I? That he's knocking down what used to be the printing plant for the Express at West Ferry Print Works, and that's going to be turned into 722 homes, a school, bars, shops and restaurants. He also has 10 Lower Thames Street, which is where the Express is now based.
That's
and
right,
all his publishing
Isn't that
ventures.
where we popped in to see our friend Mr. Ben Frau?
That's right, at Channel 5, yeah.
But he bought Channel 5 and then sold it at a massive profit, didn't he?
Yes, he did, yeah. Well, I mean, it says here, the Express title was bought in 2000 for £125 million and now worth at least £300 million.
Yeah.
He pays himself £158 million a year.
Right.
No, sorry, he paid himself £158 million over 5 years from 2002 to 2007. But also...
I know that there was a period when he was taking about 50-odd million out of the Express every year.
Yeah, but what you've just said about Channel 5, he also banked $463 million from selling Channel 5 in 2014.
Yeah.
He bought it for a lot less than that.
Oh, he bought it for... I think he bought it for about 10% of that.
Something like that, yeah.
Madness.
No, absolutely right. But I mean, so many clever people, and so many I've never heard of.
Although I've never met Richard Desmond, funnily enough. I don't know whether you have.
I don't think I have, no.
I mean, a lot of people that I know have had dealings with him, and he's a very shrewd and rather ruthless businessman. When you talk about Roman Abramovich, I mean, he's about the same.
Yes, that's right.
You know, when he, I can tell you this story, when he appointed a mutual friend of ours to be the next editor of the Daily Express after he got rid of somebody that, quite a lot of people didn't like.
Right.
He said he was going to make him acting editor, and the guy said, well, I don't want to be acting editor.
Yeah.
He said, I want to be the editor.
Yes.
And he leaned over to him, sort of conspiratorially, and whispered in his ear, I can call you anything I effing well like. He was given the job.
But he was made editor, wasn't he?
He was made
Chris?
editor,
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't going to give his name away.
Why not?
Because you don't always want to talk about people that we know, because some of these stories are not for general consumption.
Well,
You don't have to give everybody's name out like some kind of, babbling, charlatan.
Everybody knows that story.
Everybody does not know that story.
Don't
no.
worry.
There are thousands of people listening to this show right now, and there will be a couple of 100,000 people listening to it by the time it's been out on a podcast.
Yeah, sure.
And they don't all know the story or the people involved.
Don't worry about it.
Well, I'm not worried about it.
Theo Paphitis, our old pal, right?
He's not my old pal.
He's my old pal.
Well, he may be your old pal.
Former chairman of Millwall.
Yeah.
He says, I pay in cash. I carry several £700 on me at all times. I like to feel the notes in my pocket.
See,
I
you
know
said
exactly how he feels.
You told us that you always carry £500 in your pocket.
Well, I
at
try
all
to.
times. So
I
now
try
you'll
to.
have to up it to $750. Then he can feel as big as Theo Paphitis.
Yes, well,
The difference between him and you, though, is that he doesn't travel by public transport where he could get mugged.
Well, that's true. That's absolutely true.
I do find a lot of people find it slightly disturbing that you have such a great sort of admiration for everybody who's got money.
Why?
And absolutely no admiration for anybody who doesn't.
Well, no. The point is, if we were all ambitious and strove to, be better than we are, then we would be the most prosperous country in the world. I know we're one of the most prosperous countries in the world, but we would get right to the top of the tree.
Yeah, but the money isn't everything, though.
Because
money
if you're not
everything.
winning in life, my maxim, if you're not winning, it's probably because you're not trying hard enough.
And how does that relate to Swansea and Everton at the weekend?
Well, that was poor.
So they're not trying hard enough?
Well, I think do you know what? I think there's a bit of, sort of end-of-season fatigue creeping into the Everton squad. They know they've secured 7th place, and they've secured European football next season. And
they can't really do any better.
They can't move up the table, and they can't move down the table. So I think there's a bit of fatigue.
But isn't that rather an unfortunate way to be?
Yeah, it is unfortunate. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if you were their manager, would you not be slightly disturbed if that was the attitude of the players?
I've heard a lot of discussion from Everton people about Mr. Koeman, and the general opinion is it was perhaps a little bit unfortunate to start giving interviews to magazines in Spain about... Yeah. I mean, I know he said
about
eventually...
His dream job.
Yeah, and I know that I've always said, that... I don't blame any man for being ambitious, but I think ambitions like that are better kept quiet until, nearer to the time.
Well,
there
are some that would say it's a little bit disrespectful, isn't it? I mean, he may not have meant it that way, but it's not a great encouragement for the players when your manager basically sees another club as better than the one he's currently at.
Well, yes, could be.
It doesn't really work, does it, terribly well?
Could be.
Now, a couple more tweets for you here.
Yes.
How about this from William? He says, Porky, you might even get some of the mad people from California flying from the West Coast to the East Coast to see you in New York City.
That's right, the Maddos.
Here's one from G. O'Hara. Says, does Porky like the type of people who fly in from Alder Grove Airport for the show?
Aldergrove, yeah, that's fine. Aldergrove's Belfast.
Uh-huh.
There's 2 airports there in Belfast now. There's Aldergrove and George Best.
Well, is that what used to be called City?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Because it was City and International when I was there.
That's right, it was, yeah.
Stephen says, you must do a radio show from New York, use a local radio station facility and have some guests.
We will.
Well, I think we probably do more than one radio show from there.
We will, indeed.
We don't plan to just fly in for the show. We plan to spend a couple of days there as well.
Exactly, we do.
Steve the cabbie says, if he wants to put a spin on it, why not call it the home of the Epsom Derby, Surrey, or the home of world champion plank Pompous Parry?
Yeah, well, that's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Harsh,
there's need to be rude and upsetting.
No need to be rude.
But home of the Derby is the sign they have at Epsom railway station because it is the world's most famous race.
Yes, and it is at Epsom.
And I do love driving over Epsom Downs and going past the course because you see all these signs with racehorses all over the place, and it does say the home of the Derby.
Yes. I was saying this to someone when we were at West Ham.
Yep.
And similarly, I would say the same about racecourses. Yep. I love empty sporting arenas.
Like
when you go to a football match. Well, like as we do, we have good fortune to go to the stadiums before the game.
Like the London Stadium.
Yeah, like London Stadium, like Crystal Palace. We've done shows there as well.
Yep.
And it's just fantastic to be in a place when it's empty. And I feel the same way as well about racecourses. If you can see a racecourse and there's nothing on it, and there's nobody there.
Yes.
Golf course is the same. I think it's wonderful.
No, I totally agree with you. There's a magic and a mystery about them, isn't there? Haunting, I would say. Haunting.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Here's this from Robin. It says, Porky, there are people sleeping on the streets tonight who are bigger than any millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just one way of thinking.
Well, yes, but I mean, what is that? Some romantic vision about some poor down and out who had a goal in life and he never achieved the goal and he ended up on a park bench? That doesn't happen very often in this country because we have a fantastically well-developed welfare state.
Yeah, but I think it means that, as with all of these things, not everybody who is wealthy is necessarily brilliant or fantastic or very, very nice.
Right.
And not everybody who is poor is a failure.
Yeah.
Because different people have different, attitudes about life.
Well, I totally agree with that.
And different people have different sort of, goals in life.
I totally agree with that.
And if everybody chased the almighty dollar, I think we would be a much poorer society for it.
Well, chasing the almighty dollar is one thing. You've got to do it responsibly, and you've got to make sure that those in any society like ours who need help get that help. But it mustn't be abused by those who just want to piggyback on the efforts of others.
Right. Well, exactly right. Now, we've got lots more coming up, including, of course, Mr. Tim Vickery, who's coming up next.
Yep.
Get more from your radio with Talk Sport and Betfair. Ready? Every weekend, stay in play and get the greatest value in sports broadcasting from the best in the business. Talk Sport.
It just had to be, didn't it?
Making you the biggest winner with all the anticipation and excitement, plus incredible commentaries from around the sporting world. Talk Sport with Betfair Price Rush. Better odds even after you've placed your bet. You'll only get a price rush with Betfair. 18 plus, gamble aware.
Clive, what's doing Wolf? Whale music? You must be one stressed-out private landlord.
Yes, I am.
Your tenants are struggling financially and can't pay their rent. But you're with Direct Line. They'll repay any unpaid rent until your tenants are out. So drop the stress ball. It'll all be over soon. That's better.
Claim back unpaid rent after 1 month's arrears with rent guarantee. Can your insurance do that? Search Direct Line Landlord. Cover purchased as part of legal expenses add-on. Qualifying criteria apply. Restricted claims for existing tenants in the first 90 days when product first purchased.
Attention plumbers, heating contractors and installers. The Fex Plus Trade Exhibition returns to Alexandra Palace 17th and 18th of May. See the latest products and get expert advice with free on-site training and technical seminars. There's an in-depth look at the lucrative smart controls market, plus the chance to win a brand new Vauxhall Vivaro in partnership with Van Ninja. Fex Plus, Alexandra Palace, 17th and 18th of May. You won't spend a more valuable day off the tools. Register for your free ticket at fexshow.co.uk.
UEFA Champions League football live on Talk Sport. Sponsored by Pepsi Max. Maximum football, maximum taste.
What a goal!
Kicking off tonight from 7. Full match commentary of Juventus versus Monaco.
It's a shot from distance, and that is a superb goal out of nothing.
Juventus versus Monaco. Tonight from 7. UEFA Champions League football live on Talk Sport. Sponsored by Pepsi Max. Maximum football, maximum taste. The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Take me on a roller coaster. Take me for an airplane ride.
Rio de Janeiro, pode chegar que o povo é maneiro. Rio de Janeiro, pode chegar que o povo é maneiro. Meu Rio é samba pra lá, é ginga pra cá.
This is Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics, and that music means one of two things. One, that Tim Vickery is waiting to speak to us on the other end of the phone in Brazil, and two, that his chief tormentor, John Hearn, is not here.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
normally plays Roxy music for him.
Exactly, yeah.
And that Ollie Hunter, in fact, is here instead. Tim, very good morning to you.
Michael and Michael, so good they named them twice.
Exactly.
To New York. I'm very excited for you.
Well, isn't that great? Yeah, maybe you could pop
Mm.
up from Brazil. I know it's quite a long way, but it's a bit nearer than coming here, isn't it?
No,
It is a long way. When are you doing it?
September the 17th.
December?
No, September.
September.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
Okay.
I went to New York for the first time, as you might remember, Mickey
I do.
G.
Indeed.
Last year for the Centenario Copper.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. I was wandering around thinking, how on earth has it taken me 51 years
I
to
know.
get to this place?
Yes.
So I'd love to go back, and who knows, maybe that might be a good occasion.
That might be the time to do it. Because also, if we're doing a show on Monday, you might wish to come and be a guest, and you can be a guest live on because we're going to do some radio shows from there as well.
Exactly.
So you can always use that as your excuse.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I suppose we ought to begin with Tottenham because you're famously a sort of what I would call a slightly more pessimistic Tottenham supporter than most I know. So you will have it will have come as no surprise to you that they sort of garbled it all up last Friday and lost to West Ham.
None whatsoever. Have you one time heard on this show me saying that Tottenham we're gonna win the title or we're gonna win anything? Quite frankly,
exactly.
I'm in love with heroic defeats, so I can take all of this in my stride very, very nicely. I think it's what you sign up for, really. Quite frankly, and it's only the mediocre who want this silverware stuff every year. I want to be gloriously represented with a few heroic defeats and perhaps just to surprise me, the odd title now and again.
Right. Well, certainly a lot of Tottenham fans are saying things like that. Pochettino's working in the right direction, and it's all going to go somewhere soon. But I mean, whether it does or not, who knows? It's all a lap of the gods, isn't it?
As a wiser man than ourselves once said, ever tried, ever failed, try again, fail again,
absolutely.
Fail
but
better.
Actually, Tim, I do find your attitude slightly strange. I mean, I bear the pain and the agony of non-achievement at Everton every day of my life. Now, that could be because I was brought up in an era where we won so many things, when I was a young man in the 80s and that kind of stuff. You weren't around in 60 and 61, were you?
No, I came soon
in
afterwards.
sense that, exactly, in the sense that you don't remember watching Dave Mackay lift the FA Cup and all that kind of stuff, do you?
No, but one of my first memories is winning the UEFA Cup, which was a big deal then in '72.
Yes, that's right.
Against Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yes, that's right.
And they were. This was still the Bill Nicholson, still the coach.
Yes,
and there was still a real air of awe around aura. Around Tottenham, as Bill Nick trying to rebuild, continually trying to recreate that double side, which was what I grew up on tales of Blanchflower, White and Mackay in the midfield. So I did grow up with the pretensions to greatness, but what I've never been able to stand is mediocrity, and especially I moved over here in '94, and there were years and years after that when Tottenham were mediocre.
Yeah.
When you were kind of almost happy if they didn't get dragged into the relegation dogfight.
Yes.
So a little bit of swagger and a little bit of style. That for me is not totally enough, but it's almost enough.
Yes.
And clearly also they are moving in the right direction. They've got closer this year than they were last year. Be interesting to see how the move to Wembley does next year, because it's a bigger pitch and all the psychological aspects of the side haven't done well there in recent years. And the whole transition to the new stadium is a difficult thing. We could argue perhaps that Arsenal still haven't really come through the other side from that transition to the new stadium.
Sure.
It's a difficult process to go through, but it's one I think that we're well placed to go through. And then, with a 60,000 seater, the team really could become a power with a bit more substance to our swagger.
Yep. No, I understand exactly what you're saying.
That could very much be the case. Now, I suppose the big story for you guys over the past few days was Lionel Messi's ban being overturned for what is being described as insufficient evidence. So how do they go from banning somebody for 4 games and then saying, oh, actually, we've decided we didn't need to do that because there's no evidence he did anything?
Well, it's extraordinary, isn't it? Now, remember, he did miss one game. He travelled up to Bolivia to face La Paz to face Bolivia, and on the day of that game, he was banned. So he did miss one game. Now, you've made the point perfectly. How could there be sufficient evidence on the day of that game to take him out of it, and the 3 subsequent ones, and now insufficient evidence for any ban at all? It's worked out far better than Argentina had expected. They had hoped to get it reduced to 2 games. But really, it's been reduced. It's been taken away altogether, apart from the fact that he already missed that one. Well, how can this happen? It's been amazing to see during the course of this the old South American standby, the conspiracy theory, and that the game he played when he did allegedly swear at the linesman. Argentina won 1-0. He scored the penalty. It was a very iffy penalty. So all of the conspiracy theories were out. Look at that. Did you see that penalty? That is evidence. That is proof that FIFA want Argentina to qualify for the World Cup. And then he gets banned for 4 games. So that theory got to abandon that one theory. And then the new conspiracy theory became, this is FIFA's payback for the fact that Messi didn't turn up to the FIFA Gala of the Year, World Player of the Year Gala in January. In tabloid language, he snubbed the event, and this is FIFA getting their own back. Now that conspiracy theory has to be quietly pushed to one side because the ban's been reversed. I think more than any conspiracies, what we're dealing here is plain old-fashioned incompetence, and also the power vacuum that there is in world football at the moment, and the lack of credibility that there is in the decision-making process, and trying to fill that power vacuum are a lot of people running around frantically trying to proclaim themselves in command, making the tough decisions, only making the tough decisions on insufficient basis, and so they quickly get overturned. So I see much more of this as the kind of cock-up theory of history than the conspiracy theory of history.
I think you're right, because it does have all the sort of earmarks of people thinking they're going to make a big decision which is going to show that they're in charge, and without really anticipating what the backlash might be or what other people might say about it.
It is. I think if you look at so many organisations around the world, so often people get promoted to the point at which they're incompetent, and that's where they stay.
Oh yeah,
and
all
maybe
seen that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Certainly all seen that. Sorry, Tim, that stopped you in your
Sorry,
tracks,
I didn't mean to stop you in your tracks. Go on.
No, take the ball and run with it, Michael and Michael.
Exactly.
So good they named it twice.
Now then, Tim, you want to talk to us about the 50th anniversary of Ali being stripped of his titles because he refused to go to Vietnam. You have a particular view on this?
I think it's great. I think it's part of his greatness as a sportsman that, and what he'd done to win that world title, he knew its importance, but he also knew as is said over here about football, of all the unimportant things in life, it's the most important. So, he knew that world title, in comparison with what was going on in Vietnam, he knew that was less important than making a stand. And he could have gone into the army. There was no risk whatsoever of him actually having to do any fighting.
Oh, no, he could have done an Elvis, and he would have been in charge of PE and physical training and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly, and that would have been offered to him, and the US government would have absolutely loved it, but he stood true to his principles, and he paid the price for doing so, and he was quite prepared to pay the price for doing so. And that, I think, is one of the things that makes him so great. And the comparison that you could make, perhaps, between Ali and Pelé, absolute giants of their sport, geniuses of their sport, but you can't quite find anything similar in the life of Pelé. And this moment, for me, is where Ali really shows his greatness.
Yeah. No,
I don't think there's any other sportsman in history, really, who's ever been able to do what Ali did in terms of bringing, the public opinion towards his own view.
And changing the world, really, because nothing in America could have happened so speedily, the civil rights movement, without a gigantic figure like Ali at the helm.
Absolutely right.
And some of his views at the time were ludicrous on the racial separation, the ludicrous. But he abandoned them. He moved towards more reasonable positions. And I suppose, really ironically, for someone who made a living punching the living daylights out of people, he ended up as a kind of symbol of love and peace, didn't he, Ali?
Oh, yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so.
Quite a remarkable thing. So thank you for pointing that one out.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about the World Club Cup, or the Club World Cup, I should say. What's going to happen to that?
Well, there are just rumours now coming out that it's going to be rehauled. Because it doesn't work, does it? And every year I try and talk you into taking an interest, and I know you never do.
Well, I don't know what the qualification to get into it is anymore, because there seems to be alternative competitions and all sorts of manner of reorganisations.
Well, it's just winning whatever it is that is the championship of your continent.
Yeah.
So on that, it's quite clear. So it's the winner of the Champions League, the winner of the Copa Libertadores, of the Asian Champions League, the African, and so on. So that's quite clear cut. And really, the meetings of all these continental champions, it should be something remarkable. It isn't. And the main reason for this is the huge gap between Europe and the rest. Now, it just makes it not interesting. So the Europeans aren't really interesting. I mean, the competition as it's set up at the moment is set up for the Europeans to spend as little time as possible. They fly in, play their semi-final, cruise through their semi-final, and then play the final, and invariably win that one as well. The overhaul. And FIFA are disappointed with the commercial response. It isn't making any money for them because Michaels, Graham and Parry are not interested. If we can get you two interested, then I'm sure that will dramatically change the financial position of the whole competition.
Well, indeed, it will.
How can they do it? The only way I can see is getting more European teams involved in making the competition bigger. So you've got maybe 2 or 3 teams from Europe. So at least you've got more interest there. But will the Europeans go along with it? Well, will they be prepared to take time out of their calendar to give enough time for this competition? I'm inclined to doubt it unless they come to the conclusion that a competition with them and the Asian champions, who you'd imagine in the future will be Chinese, that could be interesting. That could be the growth of Chinese football could be the saviour of this competition.
Indeed.
Absolutely right.
Yep.
Chapecoense flying back to Medellin at the scene of the disaster for a match on Wednesday. This is a story that I suppose inevitably is going to continue going on, isn't it? Because every time really Chapecoense do anything, it's newsworthy.
Yeah, they won a title on Sunday. They won the state championship of their state, Santa Catarina, in the south of Brazil. And now they have, thankfully, arrived in Medellin. I remember talking to, I don't think it was your good selves, on the Monday night that they were flying up to Medellin at the end of November for a continental final. And while we were on air, I think the aeroplane went down at that time. They were due to play Atlético Nacional of Medellin. Atlético Nacional treated them so well afterwards, held a really touching ceremony, and Atlético Nacional insisted that title, the Sudamericana, the Europa League equivalent, be awarded to Chapecoense. It's really beautiful. And now they're facing them again. It's kind of the Super Cup in South America between the two clubs who won the 2 continental competitions. It happens by coincidence on the 44th birthday of Chapecoense. They won the first leg 2-1 in Brazil last month. Second leg now in Medellin. I'm sure it'll be a really, really touching occasion. A symbol, I think, of the international friendships that are forged through football. And with both sides wanting the title, I think it will be a competitive and enthralling 90 minutes as well.
I'm sure it will. Tim, listen, thank you very much indeed. We've got to run because we're out of time, sadly. We are the Two Mics. This is TalkSport. This is we are the Two Mics, I should say. This is TalkSport.
Yep.
Coming up as well, there'll be another edition of Heroes and Villains.
That's
of course,
right.
Porky's quite close to me, I think, on that one. I think that's a bit more like sort of 9-6 or something, or 10-5, one of those. Now, I must give out a little note to Craig, who's sitting in Florida listening to us. He's locked out of his condo in Jacksonville, right?
Yeah.
So he's sitting at the front door waiting for the locksmith and listening to our show.
Yeah.
So he says it's getting a bit dark and lonely.
What's
but
he listening to it on his phone or something?
Well, he's probably listening on his phone.
Yeah, that's great.
People do, you know, if they got to take, you can listen on the TalkSport app. Or you can listen live on the internet.
That's right, absolutely. Yeah. Well, sorry that you're locked out, mate, but I'm sure that there are plenty of locksmiths in America who'll come and rescue you very soon.
I'm sure there are. There's nothing worse than being locked out.
Nothing worse.
It's happened to me quite a few times.
Nothing worse at all. Go on.
I've just got one more from Jamie.
Yeah, go on.
Can I get a shout out? I'm representing the UK in the European dealer competition at the Hippodrome, London, tomorrow.
Right.
I don't know whether that's dealer of cards.
That's dealer of cards.
Dealer of cars.
Yeah.
No. It's cards.
No cards. Definitely, if it's at the Hippodrome, because. Right. I have been there and done a few presentations for companies involved in the world of betting, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sure that's what it is.
Right.
Now then, when was the last time you went to a funeral?
Last time I went to a funeral. Now that's an interesting question. I don't go to that many actually.
I don't.
Despite the fact
I don't like funerals.
I'll see what I saw though. So, funnily enough, just today, and I thought of you.
Okay.
And I almost picked one out. I was in the bakery this morning.
Right.
Buying some bread.
Yes.
And a couple of other bits and pieces. Right.
Yeah.
And
what's that got to do with a funeral?
Well, I'll tell you.
Right.
They've got a little sort of what do you put like menus in? You know, like almost like a menu holder type thing, like a little rack.
Yeah.
Thing. But in there, it's not a menu because they make all sorts of really good things. It was, we will cater your funeral.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, crikey, that would put me off my breakfast.
I was amazed. And there it said you could get, a selection of sandwiches.
Yeah.
Ham, egg and cress, tuna, all the way down through, fancies.
Yes.
The whole menu of what you would get. I think it was... something like $9.95 per person, or $11.95 per person, fully catered, meaning with waitress
I can't eat after a funeral,
well,
because the dead are involved. You know what I mean, and all that. And then,
well, they usually are.
Yeah, and then you go to the wake, and they're expected to sort of drink sherry and eat sandwiches, and I just can't get food into my mouth
does it not depend on whose funeral it is, though?
No, anybody's funeral. I just hate death, and I haven't been to the last two funerals of good friends I could have gone to because I couldn't bear the actual ceremony itself.
Did you RSVP to the invitation?
Yeah, I did. Of course I did, yeah. And so, look, I mean, in fairness, one of them was my mate who came off the ship, and that was in the Wirral. It would have been extremely difficult to get there and back in a day.
So you just made some kind of mealy-mouthed excuse?
No, I did. I rang his brother. I mean, I was direct. I don't just send emails and things. And I spoke to him and said, look, I'm awfully sorry, but it's going to be a tremendous effort to get there and back at work and all that kind of stuff. But
Did
in
you
a way,
send a gift or anything?
No, I didn't. No. But
Nothing
in a way,
at
I was relieved that I didn't have to go because I don't like funerals. I don't like to see a coffin coming up the aisle. Because there's a body inside that coffin, and that quite
often
disturbs
it's already
me.
sitting in the church, isn't
Sometimes it is, yeah. But anyway, the reason I mention this is that apparently, according to undertakers, there is a growing movement to have funerals turned into celebrations of lives, not deaths.
Yes.
And in the same way as people sometimes theme their wedding, like, New York 1930s style or something like that. There are now people who actually organise themed funerals, like superheroes. You turn up as Batman or...
What, you mean the congregation does?
Congregation do, yeah.
Really?
The congregation do,
yeah. I can see whereby, if it was somebody who's had kind of a long and fulfilling life, and you're kind of celebrating their life rather than their, mourning their death, I can see a funeral being quite a happy occasion.
Well,
but on a lot of... most of the time, if it's not that situation, then it's very sad, isn't it?
I mean, if somebody's dying... If you're going to a funeral of somebody who's died of some terrible disease and they're in their 20s or 30s, how could you possibly celebrate their life with dressing as Superman or something like that?
I suppose in that situation, if you were his or her friend, and you could genuinely say, look, this is something they would have wanted. They wouldn't have wanted you to be sad at their funeral. Then I could see that.
But what I find odd is that who do you think is the most famous funeral director in this country?
Most funeral director?
Most famous funeral director.
Oh, I don't know.
It would be the Co-op, wouldn't it?
Well, I suppose.
For years,
Funny enough, I was going to say probably the Co-op, but I have no idea.
Yeah. But anyway, it says here,
in the part of the world where I live, right,
Yeah.
there's a company called Jemson's,
who
own a local supermarket.
Right.
They also own a local tea room.
Yeah.
They also own the funeral parlour.
See, I don't like that. That's like...
See, I wouldn't fancy that.
No, I wouldn't fancy that. When I when I lived and worked in Chester on the Chester Chronicle, there was a big funeral directors at the bottom of Delamere Street, I think, you know, and the guy who ran it, was the only guy I knew in Chester who had a big black jag.
Right.
But he always wore a black suit with a black tie and a white shirt.
Just in case.
And he always got into a pub in Delamere Street and got stuck into the sherry and the wine and the whiskey over lunchtime,
Right.
and then went back and started embalming bodies and things. He used to tell us all about it, you know. Yeah.
Well, maybe he needed to get drunk before he could do it.
Well, maybe he did. Maybe he did.
It's not a very pleasant job, is it?
No, but it was dreadful. But anyway, it says here, sombre attire is being ditched in favour of Halloween, Star Wars and superhero costumes.
Yeah.
Now, the Co-op, right, this is why I mentioned it, which arranges about 100,000 funerals a year, said most adults believe they were now celebrating somebody's life rather than somebody's death and did not want a serious and solemn ceremony.
Right.
It says there's an increasing trend for personalised funerals reflecting the interests and pastimes of the deceased. The wake is on the wane as mourners choose to have a party afterwards, and the Co-op are happy to cater for it. Recent unusual funerals included a funeral director dressed as Darth Vader in a Halloween-themed event.
That's terrible.
Dreadful.
No, I wouldn't
so the
fancy
guy walking in front of the hearse, then, instead of, with his top hat and his tails and his striped trousers and his cane, is dressed as Darth Vader, right?
That's really it's not appropriate, is it?
In a Halloween-themed event, mourners dressed as Superman, Batman and Robin.
Right.
And a funeral based on the TV series Only Fools and Horses had similar people dressing up as Delboy and Trigger.
The Star Wars one, they could have had, like stormtroopers, the one dressed in white, as the pallbearers. Carrying the coffin.
Yeah. It says, and a spokesman for the Co-op, a guy called David Collingwood, who is head of funeral operations at the Co-op. What a terrible job to have.
Well, I mean, I'm
Imagine
sure
producing this business card, head of funeral operations.
Well, except for the Co-op. I bet it's a massive part of their profit-making enterprise.
Well, I'm sure it is.
You know?
It says, we're increasingly seeing this trend of personalised within funerals to reflect the passions and the interests that our loved ones had while they were alive, rather than being a strictly sombre occasion. If a request is possible to do, our funeral directors and arrangers will do their utmost to make it happen.
Yeah.
God, blimey.
Yeah, see, that's weird. The other one, which is strange, and not so much done in this country as it was in America, but I remember when Dick Oliver's first wife died, I went to the funeral for that.
But they have the wake before the funeral.
They had,
We went up to some funeral home for somebody's death and got all jugged up the night before the funeral.
Well, I think, there was a sort of an Irish thing going on there.
Was there?
Where there's quite a bit of drinking that goes on around the whole event. It's more than just one day.
Yeah.
But one of the things which I found, and it was the same actually with my ex-wife's father's funeral.
Right.
You go into the funeral parlour before the actual funeral, I think, takes place.
Yeah.
Or maybe it must be before because the coffin's open.
I know.
You know?
Well, half of it's usually open, isn't it?
Half
the top
of it,
half.
The top half, yeah. And I found that slightly sort of odd as well.
Yeah, and me.
You know?
Yeah.
Because it's quite, I mean, we've seen dead people in various guises doing jobs that we've done. But it's quite a weird thing to be sort of looking at somebody that you used to know who's lying dead in a coffin.
Yes, I totally agree.
You know?
It says here, you see, even football clubs are getting in on it. Huddersfield Town Football Club endorses a prepaid funeral plan.
Yeah.
It offers a coffin in the club's colours and bearing its crest or with a home shirt, a name on the back of a blue and white floral football bouquet with a condolence card from the club. The club song played at the funeral and ashes scattered around the pitch. I mean, that to me is,
I thought they banned a lot of places having people's ashes scattered on the pitch because so many people were asking to have it done.
They have, they have. I know that's definitely the case at some football clubs.
I think it's the case at Old Trafford now, isn't it?
It might be. I mean, United have got millions and millions of fans around the world. Well, not millions, hundreds of thousands of fans around the world.
Right.
And they probably send their ashes over from places like Venezuela or something and say, can you scatter these?
I mean, without wishing to be unkind, I suppose if you were a Huddersfield fan, you could have a card of condolence every year from the funeral home,
you could. Yeah,
on
that's right.
the basis that you picked a rather unfortunate team. But anyway, I wouldn't want to cause any trouble.
Well,
with
mind you,
Huddersfield
they're
fans.
in the playoffs, aren't they?
They are in the playoffs, as are Millwall.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot of exciting things to talk about. Because what we haven't talked about yet, by the way, is Middlesbrough going down, which we have to talk about.
Do you think anybody cares?
Yeah, I think they do.
I'm not
think
sure
they do.
do.
This is Talk Sport.
this?
It's the Beastie Boys.
Beastie Boys.
No
They're a New
Sleep
York
Till
band,
Brooklyn.
aren't they?
They certainly are, yeah.
What was that called?
No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
Yeah.
No Sleep Till Brooklyn!
Brooklyn, in our absence, has become a very popular place.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
It's the most trendy part. In fact, there are some parts of Brooklyn now where if you wanted to buy an apartment, it's more expensive than some parts of Manhattan.
Good God.
Which is incredible,
I
isn't
wouldn't want to live anywhere except Manhattan in New York. I don't like going, through tunnels or over bridges.
Don't you?
No.
Well, you have to go through tunnels and over bridges to get to Manhattan.
Well, yeah, I know, but once you're there, you don't have
I
to go anywhere else.
Until
I
you
wouldn't
leave
commute on a daily basis.
No, indeed. Nigel says this, I don't know about us funeral directors, but Jemson's Stores is an outstanding supermarket and the cheapest petrol around.
Is it?
Well, I don't know which one you go to,
I don't
mate,
think that's the same Jemson's as... Isn't there a Jemson who does, screws and bolts and that sort of stuff? Isn't
No,
that
I think you're
Jemson's?
thinking of Timpson's, aren't you?
Timpson's? No, Timpson's men's shoes. No,
the
that's not
locksmiths and all that.
Yeah, locksmiths or something like that,
I don't know. But anyway, the Jemson's I know as a supermarket, I would not describe as outstanding.
Right, okay.
And they don't sell petrol either.
Okay.
Maybe they do where you are. And Emma says this,
Yeah.
do you get your dividend points, which are transferable into cash yearly on the funeral? Serious question.
What?
Do you get dividend points on the funeral plan?
God, I hope not.
What do you mean you hope not?
Well, I mean, get
Why
a
wouldn't
few
you?
bonus points because
Well, why wouldn't
you brought your funeral business to us.
Yeah. Well, surely that's the whole point of a loyalty card, isn't it?
Listen,
I mean, it's the ultimate loyalty card action is actually having your funeral paid for by your loyalty points.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah.
Well, wouldn't you think?
Well, I don't know.
Do you not have any loyalty points cards like that?
No.
You don't have a Tesco Club card? You must have.
I
Everybody's
haven't.
got one.
No, I haven't. No, honestly, I haven't.
You got Morrison's one?
No, I was offered one once. I can't be bothered with all that, collecting points. Every time you go to a till, somebody says, have you got a points card or something? I said, no, I wouldn't be bothered.
So I take it from this conversation about funerals that you don't have a funeral plan.
No, of course not.
Have you not got something in your will, though?
No.
Which tells you people how to dispose of your body, apart from
No. I've told the family, just put me in a cremator and that's it.
Cremator?
Bang, yeah, and it'll go.
Right.
Well, I want to be cremated in case I'm not really dead. I don't want to be buried alive. So
you'd rather be burned alive?
Well, not really, but at least that would be quick because it's,
Well, it might not be, actually.
No, a crematorium burns stuff at 1,000 degrees centigrade.
Yeah.
You would last less than a second. The shock would kill you.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and
I think the shock of waking up in a coffin might kill you, to be honest.
Well, can you imagine anything more terrifying than that? I mean, crikey.
Well, I suppose I could, actually.
No, I couldn't. No, forget it. Listen, talking about all that sort of stuff, by the way, and funerals and all that. The funeral took place last week of a guy called Wycliffe Noble.
Oh, yeah.
And he was an extraordinary character.
I can't say I've heard of him.
No, I haven't either, but he was the drummer with the Salvation Army group band called the Joy Strings.
Oh, yeah, never heard of them either.
Who apparently were big, massive in the 60s and 70s. Don't you remember them?
No. No, I've never heard of them.
Yeah. The Joy Strings were apparently, the world's most successful ever, happy clappers.
Really?
If you know what I mean.
But were these people that sort of performed presumably in concerts rather than on the street corner? Right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
the basic Salvation Army
they
band.
would hire halls and people would pour into these halls, listen to the Joy Strings.
Right.
They were the first Christian pop group ever, right? And old Wycliffe Noble was the drummer,
right?
And he used to beat out the message of the gospel into the charts with hits like "It's an Open Secret" and "Starry Night."
Starry Night.
Yeah.
What, you mean as in not Starry Night by what's his name?
No, that came later. American Pie Man.
Starry Night.
Yeah. No, not him. No, but apparently Cliff Richard was their big champion, and
really?
donated royalties from his recordings to the Salvation Army charities.
What were they called again?
They were called the Joy Strings.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever heard of them.
And
they must have completely passed me by.
They broke barriers down in churches. First people to play guitars in churches and all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Huh.
Apparently their theme was listen to the Joy Strings. It proves the devil doesn't have all the good music. But
this is presumably when people were being told that the devil's music was rock and roll.
Yeah, that's right. But you won't believe this. They actually got invited onto the Ed Sullivan Show a few weeks after the Beatles.
How ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing, isn't it?
I wonder if we can find any of their music.
Yeah, well, we need to, because apparently they were the biggest gospel group ever.
Right.
In fact, here, General Frederick Coots, who was the head of the Salvation Army in Britain, had to defend having a band in the Salvation Army altogether. But he said, we play to save sinners, not to make saints.
Right.
But the Joy Strings broke up the following year. Noble returned to his architectural practice, pioneering the introduction of disabled access to public buildings.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, he would have made some money out of that as
He
well.
was known as Wiki, apparently.
Wiki?
Yeah, but I didn't even know the Salvation Army had a group. But anyway, they did.
Well, I mean, I knew that they had people that played in Salvation Army bands.
Well, I mean,
but you just see them on the, on the street corner.
Yeah, you'd see women in bonnets bashing tambourines, right? That's basically what the Salvation Army
sometimes they had brass instruments. Funnily enough, I was driving through Blackheath the other weekend.
Oh, yes.
And there was a load of them playing down there. In the midst of this traffic island, there was a lot of Salvation Army people playing trumpets and things. Bizarre. Now, how about this from William? He says, just a little note on the date of your live show in New York on the 17th of September. The US Constitution was signed on that date in 1787.
Oh, really?
Apparently.
Well, on September the 17th?
Apparently so.
Which Constitution was signed?
The American one.
Oh, right,
The US Constitution was signed on that date in 1787.
Well, in that case, we can play the Stars and Stripes at the opening of the show.
We can indeed.
Yes, that's
David
right.
says this, in Melbourne, a funeral company called Lepine's Funerals often sponsor the last horse race of the day.
God.
I can't bet on it.
Oh, I couldn't either. I couldn't, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right here. Porky, I think you're thinking of Jewson's, not Jemson's. You're absolutely right.
That's the
Jewson's,
building. That's the building suppliers,
that's
isn't
right.
it?
Yeah, thanks very much indeed.
There's also Graham's Building Supplies,
Graham's?
Which has nothing to do with me.
No, nothing to do with you at all.
Yeah.
You couldn't do. You wouldn't be associated with anything that was successful because you're incapable.
Why are you suddenly being so rude to me?
No, listen.
No, I'm listening. How about this from James? He says, it's called a wake. It's Irish. My family do it. Bring the body home before the funeral to see them and have a drink.
Oh, blimey. Somebody sent me a note here saying they've already bought a ticket for the show in New York.
Yes,
that's
very
amazing.
Good. That is very good.
Yeah, well
Excellent.
done.
Well, go and check it out on the 2mics.co.uk and you'll see
Now, hang on. You say that, right, but also, aren't we going to send out a link on our Twitter feeds anyway to say to people...
There is a link on the Twitter feed, yeah.
There is?
Have you not retweeted it?
Not yet.
Why not?
Because I was waiting for us to make the announcement here. I'm going to do it right away.
Oh, we've already made the announcement. We made the announcement an hour ago.
Okay, that's all right. Don't worry. We'll get
fine.
on with it.
I'm absolutely fine with it. How about this from Ryan? He says, you'd rather be burned alive than buried alive.
Yes.
Only on TalkSport at 2 in the morning.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, but the burning's very quick. Don't worry about that.
So you say. Matt says, I thought Porky was wanting to be buried at sea a few months ago. That's true.
Yeah.
I did say that.
I said I wouldn't mind that at all because then I could...
well, you can't really be buried at sea if you're getting cremated, can you?
No, of course not. It's one or the other, isn't it? But, I mean, it would be nice to come to the same sort of end as Sir Francis Drake.
Or Osama bin Laden.
No.
He was buried at sea.
Who?
Osama bin Laden.
Was he? Was he tipped off the American aircraft carrier after they killed him?
They flew him out of Pakistan, didn't they?
They did, that's right.
And there was a lot of hoo-ha about the fact that nobody ever saw the body.
Yeah, that's
right.
right.
And, of course, there are conspiracy theorists out there who say, well, since we never saw the body, how do we know he's dead?
I totally agree with you. Listen, which kind of mad nutter would want to go to a place where they make a cup of coffee and they put a picture of your face on the top of it and they deliver it to your table?
Oh, is this like instead of the little sort of flower or whatever
how
they do?
How mad is that?
Why would they do that?
I don't know, but you can actually have an image of your own face put on top of the froth in your coffee.
That's the ultimate narcissist coffee, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's the sort of thing you might like.
No, I wouldn't. I think it's ridiculous, utterly ridiculous.
Who's offering this service?
Get this, it's already been trialled, this new machine, with first class and business class passengers on Lufthansa flights and at Wimbledon for the tennis championships. The selfies are the most eye-catching features, but the machines can also supply thought-provoking quotes to sit amongst the bubbles. So you can have a cup of coffee with your image on it and then something like "Have a nice day" written in a bubble that comes out your mouth.
I definitely don't want that.
It's a coffee maker who does cappuccino at the touch of a button with your face painted in the froth. It prints an image in 10 seconds.
I don't want anything like that sort of familiarity when I go and get a cup of coffee.
I don't either. I think that's outrageous.
It is ridiculous, isn't it? But this is the thing. I mean, everything can be personalised now to the point where, I don't want everything to be personalised. I really don't need personalised coffee. I'm quite happy to have an ordinary coffee. Yeah. I'm really quite happy to be treated as if I'm just another member of the public.
Yeah, sure.
I don't want everyone to pretend that they all think I'm very special just because I've walked into a coffee shop. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Apparently what happens is you can walk into these places and you put your face in front of a screen. It takes a new picture of you, or you can choose an existing photograph stored on your mobile phone and feed it into the machine.
Right.
You upload the picture you'd like to use to the dedicated Coffee Ripples app, right?
Yeah.
Which is then downloaded free from Google Play or iTunes.
Right.
You then choose a coffee shop which has a Ripple maker, so you've got to be in sync with the coffee shop, okay?
Right.
And present the barista with the unique code provided by the app. The code gives the Ripple maker access to your photograph.
Yeah.
Using a tiny amount of liquid coffee as ink, the technology prints the photograph directly onto your coffee in under 10 seconds.
Well, I'd be just quite happy to have a cup
the
of
world
coffee.
gone mad?
Well, the world has gone mad.
Yeah.
It's like when you stop into, say, one of these fast food places in the car, and you go, look, I just want some food or I want some coffee or something like that, and they go, oh, can you please go and park over there while we bring it to you? And you go, no, the whole point of having a drive-in is that you stop, you buy the food, you put it in the car, and you leave.
And you drive off,
You don't go and sit in a parking spot for 10 minutes while you guys go away and cook it.
I totally agree.
And I certainly don't want my face on it, thank you very much indeed.
I totally agree.
Talking of personalised stuff, right?
Yes.
And ahead of our big show in New York City, right? I thought you might like to take on board what Justin Bieber asks for when he goes on tour. I don't know if you saw this the other day. This
Go on,
from,
give me a list of
his trip to India, right? Where he's doing a whole bunch of different shows.
Yes.
But he asked for a Rolls Royce reserved for Bieber himself. Right.
Yes.
And the following need to be flown in: a ping pong table.
Yeah.
A PlayStation. Excuse me.
Yeah.
An I.O. Hawk Segway.
Yes.
Which is one of those Segway machines that you go up and down on.
Yeah, sure.
A sofa set. A washing machine. A fridge.
Yeah.
Upholstery. I'm not sure what sort of upholstery he needs.
No.
A massage table.
Yes.
A jacuzzi.
Yes.
Not one, but 2 5-star hotels. 5 dishes a day prepared by top chefs and named after his most popular tracks.
Yes.
A specially redesigned hotel suite incorporating mogul paintings, antique furniture, Kashmiri bed linen and purple carnations. Reservations of 3 hotel floors. An Indian yoga casket. A licensed female masseurs flown specially in from Kerala. And a private jet and a chopper on standby.
Yeah. Well,
how many of those do you think we can get away with?
I would tell him to get lost.
Yeah.
I would just tell him to get lost. I'd say, you're not worth the trouble, son.
Yeah.
You know, you're a petulant little boy.
But he's not, though. He is worth the trouble because he makes an absolute fortune for everybody he does anything for.
Well, does he?
Yeah.
I told you the famous story, didn't I? I read the book about Fleetwood Mac, how Stevie Nicks wanted every hotel suite she stayed in on tour to be painted pink.
Painted pink,
Completely pink. She wanted a pink piano in it to write music.
Yeah.
And all the bath towels had to be pink and all that. And then the minute she left, the suite was restored to its normal colours.
Right.
And it was costing up to $100,000 a time.
Right.
I mean, that could be 2 or 3 times a week.
But presumably that was her people paying for that, though. It wasn't the hotel paying for it.
No.
So the hotel would be more than happy to do it.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Because they would just say, well, just give us $1 million quid a year.
Absolutely.
And every time we do it. Do you remember Rod Stewart telling us that when they were banned from the Holiday Inn, way back in the sort of 70s in America, they used to check into hotels pretending to be Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
And that's how they used to get away with it.
That's right.
And they'd have all these mad parties and everything went horribly wrong.
They blamed Fleetwood Mac.
Blamed Fleetwood Mac. Which was a great story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Now, coming up next, some more musical tales, because we've got Steve Lillywhite, the producer of U2, Grammy Award winning, of course. He'll be very excited about Chelsea's result last night against Middlesbrough. This is TalkSport.
Yeah, I'm up at Brooklyn. Now I'm down in Tribeca, right next to De Niro. But I'll be hood forever. I'm the new Sinatra. And since I made it here, I can make it anywhere. Yeah, they love me everywhere. I used to cop in Harlem. All of my Dominicanos right there up on Broadway. Brought me back to that McDonald's. Took it to my stash spot, 560 State Street. Catch me in the kitchen like a Simmons whipping pastry. Cruising down 8th Street, off-white Lexus.
This is a great New York song, isn't it?
Yeah, what's that?
This is Jay-Z and Alicia Keys.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that a rap, is it?
Empire State. Well, no, he's kind of rapping, but it
Yeah,
just gives
yeah,
you
yeah.
a great sense of driving around the city, doesn't it?
Yes, it certainly does.
And, of course, when I was in New York recently, Steve Lillywhite was one of the guys I saw, and he's here.
Indeed.
Steve, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning, boys. Good morning. Yes, it's funny how songs really remind you of a place, isn't it?
Yeah.
I always remember back in the 80s, that is a great... My favourite song about New York was Stepping Out by Joe Jackson.
Stepping Out is a
That
great song, yeah.
Fantastic song. And that just reminded me of going out clubbing in New York during those heady days of the 80s.
Yeah, the heady days of the 80s. Do you remember a place called Area? I used to go to a club called Area, which was way downtown and very, very sort of seedy.
Yes. We do like the sleazy. It's interesting, boys. You were just talking before the break about the various things that these rock stars ask for on their riders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know the famous story about the no brown M&Ms in Van Halen's.
That's right.
Do you know about this story?
Yes.
Yes.
But we always used to laugh about that. But apparently the reason that they did that was because they had a lot of very, very dangerous equipment in the lighting rig. And they thought that if they put something in that's so ridiculously stupid, the rider about the M&Ms. If they do that, then they're going to do all the more important things with safety for the lighting rig.
Okay.
It was almost like a test for them that they managed, that they went, and it's a very clever idea, that if they did the M&Ms, then they would do all the other things that were there that were far more important.
Yeah,
I suppose so, but on the other hand, you might have this vision of a roadie, stoned off his face, kind of picking all the brown M&Ms out of a bowl when he should have been up a lighting rig, making sure that the fuses were all set.
That's right.
Well, except it's not the roadie. The roadie is employed by the band, whereas the venue are the people who have to do all the other things.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll tell you what,
Which is why when
Go on, Steve.
Sorry, which is why when Porky said that, I wouldn't do all that for Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Its own. Porky is the world's biggest capitalist.
Yeah.
This is market forces. Just if he couldn't get what he asked for, if it wasn't financially viable for the people providing the show, then he would not get what he asked for.
That's absolutely true. It's absolutely true, Steve. And the one clause that I'm going to have in my contract for New York is that I want to be on a different floor to MG, because if you see the sort of people he picks up after the show and hangs around with, and the amount of chaos and gruesome behaviour that will then develop throughout the next few hours into the early hours of the morning, you wouldn't want to just be on a different floor, Steve. You want to be in a different hotel, or maybe even a different city.
Well, Mr. Parry, I have to say that I witnessed some of the last ever examples of Mr. Graham smoking cigarettes.
Oh, good.
And I think he's on the. I think he's on the mend. I think he's seen the light.
I'll tell you what, I'm seeing a lot of light at the moment because I don't do anything which is my formerly louche lifestyle used to make me enjoy. I hardly drink very much anymore. I don't smoke anymore. There's all sorts of nefarious behaviour I used to get up to which seems to be passing me by. So I'm wondering if I'm going in for early retirement, Steve.
Well, you know what? I think the thing that you need to get onto, but maybe both of you, is a little bit of exercise just to get the blood circulating around the body.
Yeah, I do. I walk a lot. Don't worry about that. I walk on the north and south downs, so I keep myself fit.
Oh,
you can tell by looking at him, Steve. He's an absolute model of Grecian god-like stature.
I certainly am. Now, Steve, tell us this, please. Where are you going to be on Friday night this week when you will almost certainly be celebrating another Premier League title at Stamford Bridge?
Well, actually, the game will be at 2:00 in the morning, my time, because at the moment it's now 8:00 in the morning. So I may be out at the club actually where they show the games.
Oh right.
Either that or I'll be watching it at home because I have a feed of all the football around the world I can watch here.
Yeah,
which
brilliant.
Is very, very good.
That is brilliant, isn't
yes,
it?
I think. Yeah. Well, the trouble with Middlesbrough is, of course, they had to win the game, so they had to leave themselves open. So I think if ever there was a banker of Chelsea winning a football match, it was last night.
Yes.
Now West Brom, you never know. They're a team of giants. They punt the ball into the penalty area. They're going to get Costa sent off. And I'm not sure if we'll win that game. And especially, mentally, we've got Watford and Sunderland at home. So, if we, those are, maybe we'll wait until we get back to the bridge. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you may well be right. And is there any evidence, do you think, that poor old Costa will kind of calm? I mean, he might be more calm in these games as well because while there's sort of, of course there's a lot at stake, but, these are not must-win games yet anyway. And he's probably going to leave anyway, right?
Yes, I think that's, the word is that, he's done very well. And if ever footballers are sort of guns for hire, it's strikers, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're at the front line.
It's true.
They're the people who get paid the most. They're the people who don't stay at the clubs for that long, So I can understand, and the mentality of a striker is that of a cowboy. You know, you're out there, you're doing it for yourself because you want to score the goals. Whereas, you know, the guys at the back are slightly calmer in the way that they deal with their career. So if he can go, I think, you know, I have so much faith in our manager at the moment. I really think, I think he is just, you know, he doesn't give a little any leeway. You know, everything is about the moment. We must win the next game.
Yep.
So, you know, he is, and you know, if you think that Mourinho, who has experience of the Premier League, Guardiola, who came into Manchester City as the most successful manager they could get, and our guy, you know, they were all. This was the first season of all three managers, and there's no question who's got the biggest cojones of the three, because he changed our system completely halfway through the season.
Well, it wasn't halfway, was it? It was after about 6 games. He decided
after they lost to Arsenal.
He had to go to a three-man a back three. But the thing is, Steve, I speak to people here who say that they think Mr. Conte will definitely stay with you next season because he wants to, experience Champions League football with the team that he's taken to the top of the Premiership. But after that, almost certainly he'll be back in Italy with, I think it's Inter Milan who he's destined to go to eventually, isn't he?
Well, you know, that's good. We all, you know, I don't, you know, half of me likes the idea of the Mourinho, of the Ferguson, Wenger style of manager. But part of me does feel that there is the term familiarity breeds contempt.
Yes.
And by having a stable backroom staff and rotating your manager in the way, you know, to keep these young footballers on their toes.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, maybe, you know, there is an argument that this is well, it's worked for Chelsea, hasn't it?
Of course it has.
Well, it has. Porky was saying earlier on today. He was saying that, you know, it's the one club that it has worked for, that Abramovich firing the managers when they perhaps least expect it has actually brought dividends. But I mean, I guess you would think Conte as well will want to play with Chelsea in the Champions League, and that he'd like, because I mean that is really the proof in the pudding, isn't it, as to whether you're a great manager. Yeah. Can you win the Champions League?
Yes, I think so, and I think we're short. I heard someone earlier was saying that we were 6 players short of being a Champions League winning side, but you know, I'm not sure if that's true. I think we'll probably lose Hazard.
Yeah,
we will probably go for Lukaku, and I don't know who else there is out there. You know, have a look at those Monaco players, maybe, because there's some great kids there.
Mbappe.
You know, so. Yep, that's his name. That's his name.
Absolutely, 19 years of age and worth about 90 million quid.
I think if you get Lukaku, that's not going to win you the Champions League. I think you need to get somebody a bit better, to be honest.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, the argument is that he hasn't had absolute top-class support. You know, he's had good support, and Everton are a good mid-table team, Mr. P.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry,
I have to say, he did. I mean, Steve did send me a rather disparaging note your way, which was intended for you when Chelsea beat Everton, making it 8-0 on aggregate for the season.
Yes, well, we don't talk about that.
But, you know,
sure.
Bayern beat Arsenal 9-1 or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's, you know, you never know with football scores. You never know.
No, it's absolutely
true. So what do you? So do you have plans for a massive celebration down there in Jakarta if Chelsea do win the league, or as and when they do?
You know my life here, Mike. It's very good lifestyle. If Chelsea win the league, I've got a few mates I'll be going out with. Actually, I've got one of my mates is a Newcastle supporter, so we can probably do a
double,
top of the first and top of the championship.
Yeah. But of course, you could be celebrating. You could be celebrating a double in 2 weeks' time, Steve, couldn't you? Believe it or not.
Well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know, I'm liking Arsenal coming back though. I'm I think Jose is so mean-spirited. He cannot, he will always try and, say something bad. He's never gracious.
Yeah.
He's there's just something,
No, he is. I agree with you. But, I mean, I think he mourns for the days when he was, the king of the pile. He mourns for the days when he was untouchable, when every team that he took control of was, winning its domestic leagues and powering into Europe. He misses all that. And if he'd have stayed at Chelsea and just rearranged himself a bit better, he might now be picking up the Premier League title again.
No, absolutely. But it's more than that, Mike. It's that time in your life when you realise that you're not a young kid coming up anymore.
Yeah.
And we've all had that. We've all been the young guy on going up the mountain, going upwards. And you can't keep going upwards. There's a time in your career when you look behind you and go, shoot, there are some people there who are, I'm not going to be forever young. And he, it happens with rock stars. It happens in all forms of life.
Yeah.
When the first time you look at a policeman and you go, oh my God, they're young.
Yeah.
And then the prime minister is younger than you. All these things become, they all affect you. And I think Jose, he has to come to terms with the fact that maybe he's a little old-fashioned now in his way of setting up football.
Could well be.
I think he needs to get a lot less bitter and twisted about it, but we shall see. Well, listen, Steve, a delight as ever to talk to you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Enjoy the weekend. I'm sure you will. And if not, I'm sure that it will be very, very shortly thereafter that Chelsea win the title if they haven't done it against West Bromwich Albion. Steve Lillywhite there talking to us from Jakarta, looking ahead to Chelsea inevitably probably winning another Premier League title.
Eight.
My goodness
me.
Crikey,
that's quite an age, hasn't it, for a rocker like him, and he's still going strong.
Quite an age for anybody, really.
Yeah. He does live concerts, and funny enough,
he's still doing them, because I think, did we not talk about this a few weeks ago, where I said he's now done some ridiculous number of concerts at the at one particular place in Long Island.
Yes, that's right. He has.
I can't remember the name.
Yeah, and he always. I remember reading an interview in which he said, "Look, to go on stage. He said, I do all my old songs because that's what people come to see me for."
Yes.
And funny enough, we spoke to somebody else recently, didn't we?
Yeah.
Who is an international rock star, who said exactly the same.
Yeah.
He said, why would I...
You give them what they want.
Exactly. Yeah. They come to listen to my... Of course, I'm talking about Rod Stewart.
Yes.
They will come to hear me sing my hits, and that's exactly what I give them. That's what they deserve. So
absolutely right.
I think I told you, haven't I, before? I went to an Elton John concert once. It was with the Beach Boys at Wembley Stadium. And for the first hour of his set, he played tracks from his new LP. And, of course, nobody had ever heard them before, and they might have been very good songs, and some of them might now be household classics. But when you hear a song for the first time from an established artist...
it doesn't always work, does
it? You can't figure it out with anything. You can't put it in your memory bank as to what it relates to, and, oh, crikey, that was 2 years ago, the summer of, or something like that.
I think this is why radio still has a very big part to play,
of course.
in a way, because sometimes the way that you can become familiar with the new song is that basically you hear it on the radio.
Yeah, that's right.
And you hear it on the radio quite a lot.
Of course you
and
do.
after a while you think, actually, I quite like that, I'm going to go buy that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, or as it used to be, you would hear one song and then you go and buy the album.
You would, indeed.
And then you bring the album home and you listen to that. I mean, a lot of people now just buy the single, don't they?
Yeah, they
or
do.
Just download the single.
Yeah, they download the single, that's right, yeah.
Absolutely right.
Now, do you remember me telling you when we spoke to one of these scientists in America a few weeks ago, and he and I had this great conversation in which I said, could we eventually have these huge space barges?
When you say you and he,
yes.
What about me? Was I not involved in
Well,
the
you
conversation?
were, but I was getting onto the technical details of space travel.
I see.
Which you didn't really have a great appreciation of, to be
honest.
honest.
Right?
Yeah.
Is this your recollection of the conversation?
It is,
Is
yes,
it? Right,
yeah.
okay.
And so, do you remember I was saying to him, will these huge space barges be coming back from the moon with aggregates in them? Because eventually we're going to run out of things like aggregates in this country. Aggregates are like stones and things.
I know what aggregates are.
You put into...
Yeah. I was once flown around America by the biggest aggregate company in the world.
Really? Which one?
Hanson.
Oh yeah, that was owned by Lord Hanson.
It was indeed.
And that was his private jet, wasn't it?
It was, and they just bought a load of American companies.
Oh, that's right.
And I was working for the Sunday Times at the time.
Yes.
And they wanted to show me all their quarries.
Excellent.
So they said, the only way we can do this is on a private plane.
Excellent, that's brilliant.
Which was great. And so I do know quite a bit about aggregates.
And do you remember their TV slogan in this country?
Hanson?
Hanson, yeah.
No.
Lord James Hanson.
No.
It was... a company over here doing rather well over there.
Oh, right, okay.
Because that was their slogan when they bought all
and
those
Gordon
American
White
companies.
was the guy who was the head of the company.
Gordon
was
White
a very
was
famous old Yorkshireman.
When he was about 85, married this beautiful blonde model, didn't he?
Did.
American model.
He did.
And then Lord Hanson was a debonair gentleman.
Very dashing.
Very dashing.
Yeah.
And Sir Nicholas Lloyd, our old boss at the Express, had never met a finer English gentleman in his life. But then when he died, his son inherited the whole lot.
Yes.
And his son's a playboy.
Well, he was.
Apparently.
I don't know what... I mean, this was a long time ago, so I don't know what the state of play is now. But there we are. Anyway, get back to your spaceships full of aggregates.
Yeah, right. So guess what? Not only did I get it right, but I didn't even get it as right as it should have been right.
Really?
It's
so
even,
you didn't get it right then?
No, it's even more right than I thought, right?
Well, how can it be more right than you thought right?
Because guess what's going to happen?
I don't know what.
A company is planning to send rockets to the moon.
Yes.
Which will then land. Then machines will come out and they will bore through the moon's surface.
Really?
To find gold.
Right.
And they will bring the gold back from the moon.
That's if there is any gold.
They're going to find...
Yeah, but they don't know if there is, do they?
Well, they do know. They do know.
Well, I don't think they do know, because if they did know, there would be a massive fight going on as to who owned it.
Next year, a company is going to start missions to the moon. The ideals are both less lofty than space research and arguably more exciting. In summer 2018, a private team of engineers, sponsored by Audi and Vodafone, couldn't have too big of companies, could you, on Earth?
Audi,
the car company.
Audi? What are they interested in?
Well, presumably finding gold.
Well, why do they want to find gold? They're a car company.
It doesn't matter if anybody...
Well, surely if there was gold there, one of the big gold mining companies would be
why
involved.
would Vodafone want gold?
Well, maybe they use gold in their manufacturing process.
No, they want to get rich. Right, plan to send a lander containing 2 uncrewed rovers called the Audi Luna Quattro. They're providing the cars.
Transport,
they're providing the cars, right? To investigate the site of the Apollo 17 landings. Their immediate goal is to study the equipment left behind to see how terrestrial materials hold up after 45 years in a vacuum. But their wider goal is to show that the private sector can deliver 100 kilograms to the moon for under £100 million and then start taking orders.
Right.
They've booked room on one of Elon Musk's SpaceX rockets. He's the guy with the Tesla car, isn't he?
He's the very same man, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, which have already demonstrated that the private sector can make a commercial success of orbital missions. By going far beyond orbit, they want to open up the moon in the same way.
Yes. Well, I'm sure that will no doubt be the case. Yeah. But the problem at the moment is I don't think anyone's really sure what is underneath the surface of the moon.
Well, they're going to find out.
They think it's really just one big bit of rock, don't they? In which case there's not very much. Because I'm sure that once they work out that there are actually minerals that need to be mined out of some of these places like other planets.
Yes.
So all the big mining corporations, like the people you've seen down in South Africa, the big gold mining companies, the big copper mining companies from Chile, like when you were in the Atacama Desert.
Yes.
Those will be the people that will get the stuff out.
Yeah.
But you've always said that, exploring space is a waste of time.
Not if there's a load of gold there.
Oh, so now you're changing your tune.
Absolutely changing my tune. If it costs £100 million a mission to send a couple of these guys to, a couple of these machines to the moon,
yes,
and you don't have to send any men, by the way, it's like if you think about a rig in the North Sea drilling out oil. It didn't involve men; it just involved machinery.
Well, there's plenty of men on the rig, though.
Yeah. Well, there'll be plenty of men in Houston, Texas, operating the controls of these machines from far away.
Yeah.
But they will go, they will land, they will bore down miles and miles into the Earth's surface, right?
The moon's surface.
The moon's surface. That's right. Yeah. Get all the gold and then bring it back. So they would say that if we send up a mission that costs $100 million, if we get $250 million worth of gold coming back, that is a plus.
Yes, it is a plus. Well, I've told you for many, many weeks and months that, exploring the space around us is the way forward.
Yes.
You've always poo-pooed it as a waste of money, and now suddenly you change your tune.
No, what I said
is out that there's something up there worth getting.
What I said is a waste of time. It's just going there and, picking up a bit of moon rock to bring back and put into a glass cabinet, in the British Museum.
But if it wasn't for having done that,
what a complete waste of time.
Yeah, but if it wasn't for having done that, they would never know what's actually there because they've been able to analyse what they found, and they now think that there's a likelihood that there might be something worthwhile.
Well, I could have told them 3 decades ago. Don't worry about a bit of moon rock.
Maybe they should have just rung you then.
Yeah, go and find the gold on the moon.
They could have cancelled the whole of the Apollo space programme and just rung you up.
Well, no,
they've gone, Porky knows exactly what's going on up there.
Yeah. No, it's very exciting to have lived through the Apollo missions to the moon.
Really?
nobody will ever forget where they were when they heard those famous words, Houston, the eagle has landed. And the first man on the moon had just landed.
Yeah.
And he had 5 seconds of fuel left before he touched down.
Yes.
How about that?
How about that?
Could still be lying there now, with a broken leg, 2 broken legs, and wouldn't be alive, obviously.
Well, he wouldn't be.
No, he'd been a long time dead, but...
he would be.
A bit of
I
a
think
shame.
you're getting very confused about whether you like the moon or not.
No.
And I'm going to try and help you sort that all out. Now, I'm going to tell you about Jack Straw's Castle car park coming up in a bit.
Yeah,
as well,
yeah.
We talked about this the other
week. Converted into flats, isn't it?
Somebody sent me a tweet saying that they're going to put 2 mansions on it.
2 mansions?
Upset quite a few people. Great.
I'm not surprised.
This is Talk Sport.
Hello, this is Tim Vine on Talk Sport. It's Mike Parry's postbag. I can't wait to see what's in there.
Postman Pork, Postman Pork, Postman Pork, how he loves to talk about his sister's awning, so very, very boring. He fills the airwaves with his useless facts.
Is this a new version or something?
What was that? I don't know.
Well, that's one you've recorded, obviously.
No, I never recorded it.
You never recorded that?
I never recorded
so that's
that.
not by you?
I don't know who that's by. Listen, we better get on with it because there's so much here today.
Oh, okay.
I prefer the traditional one. What about Tim Vine? What about Tim Vine?
Well, I don't know what's happened to it. You're supposed to be in charge of this part of the show.
Tim Vine normally greets us and says, this is Tim
Why are
Vine.
you standing up? You're supposed to be in charge of this part of the show.
Yeah, okay. I'm just going to get into this one first. Look, there's a lot to open here, so I'm going to get on with it.
Before you do that, or while you're doing it, let me please explain to people who wish to watch it as well that it will be on Facebook, the Two Mics page, which is live right now.
Yeah.
And I'm just about to put out a link on Twitter,
which
shows you how to get to it.
So I can repeat it?
I will certainly do that, but don't worry about repeating it or retweeting it. Just worry about opening your presents.
Yeah, we should get on with it. Right, first one is in here. This says 2 Postman Pork. It's a box of, what are these? Shreddies. Box of Shreddies.
Shreddies.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Why have you got Shreddies?
Actually, the real present here, because I had a look at this one a bit earlier on, is this.
Oh, yeah.
Look at this.
What's that?
Right, Team Shreddy Wheat Racing. Well, what they've done is they've given me a novelty bowl.
Oh, yeah.
See?
A novelty bowl?
Yeah, it's a bowl.
What sort of bowl? What do you mean? That's where you're supposed to eat your Shreddies in?
That's what. Yeah, it says.
It's a very small bowl, isn't it?
The knobby tyre bowl.
The knobby tyre bowl.
Yeah. So what you do is you take the top of the bowl off like this, right?
Yeah, right.
See?
Are you sure?
See? Yeah.
It's like a wheel.
It's a bowl.
Oh,
and
okay.
you get your Shreddies.
Okay.
Get your Shreddies. Put your Shreddies in there.
Right.
And then you eat them.
I see. It's not a very big bowl. Can I have a look?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much
big enough
indeed.
for me. Yeah. Right. Get rid of this one.
You're a fan of Shreddies, are you?
Yeah. Fan of Shreddies, yeah. Right, listen, better start opening some of these.
Yeah.
I'll open this one for, what's this?
Says do not use it in the microwave, by the way.
Yeah, don't use it in the microwave.
If you
right,
get one of these in the post, do not use it in the microwave.
Yeah, Postman Pork, it says, at the 2 Mics, it says free gift inside.
Free gift inside.
Yeah, I always like opening these. Right, I'll just tear it across the top here. Let's have a look in here. Oh, look at this.
What is that?
Original salted peanuts. That's very kind. Let me see who this is from.
Surely you've got your own brand of Porky Scratchings now.
Yeah, I have got Porky Scratchings. Yeah, quite a lot of them. In fact, there's going to be a special Porky Scratchings night down in Stockbroker Bolt, Surrey very soon.
Okay.
Right, dear Sir Mike, I hate people who eat smelly food on trains. I agree
Sir
with
Mike?
Yeah.
Well, who's he addressed that to?
Well, I don't know. It just has. It's from our pal Roy Dracula in Croydon. I hate people who say they are worse than rucksackers. Phone users, laptop tappers, people with giant suitcases and crying babies. Yeah, I totally agree. People bring on, this hot food that they've got from some takeaway. It's terribly, terribly unsociable. Noxious emissions from the stuff can clear a carriage in seconds, I agree. Can we have a Porky campaign this year? We've already had one, Roy, but we might have one again. On a lighter note, Porky, let's have more about you on the programme, especially news about your properties and enviable lifestyle. Well, I don't like boasting. Also, more about MG, maybe some beauty tips and where he gets his haircut.
Yeah.
Are you getting your haircut this week, aren't you?
I may be getting it cut this week,
That's because we're going on Sky TV next week.
One of the reasons,
well, anyway,
it's
listen,
also very,
Roy,
very
thanks
long.
ever so much. That's very, very kind of you, thank you.
Yep.
Very good. Right.
Is that from Roy Dracula?
Roy Dracula.
Yeah, because one or two people wondering if he'd gone missing.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, Roy Dracula.
Right, Mike Parry and Mike Graham, this is addressed to. I don't know why people bother writing to you.
Yeah, well, it's because they know that I'm the more likely person to actually respond.
It's known as Pork, Postman Pork, right? So what we got here, we've got, the Jeff Hassel Foundation Gala Dinner 2017, Evening with Legends. It's on the 13th of May at Hotel Football Manchester.
I've seen a picture of this on Twitter.
Yeah, that's right. That's the one owned by the Manchester United players, Ryan Giggs and Gary Neville and people like that. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
And it says, "Dear Mike and Mike, firstly apologise for the vague address, but just to introduce themselves, Sean Langslow, close friend of the Hassel family. So it's an invitation to subscribe to this."
Oh yeah. When is it?
What?
When is it?
It's on the 13th of May.
Okay.
And it says, as highly successful journalists and broadcasters yourselves, no doubt you're aware of the tragic loss and circumstances surrounding Jeff's passing. Well, certainly am. Thank you very much indeed for sending me that information. We will get stuck into that.
Yeah.
This comes...
This Saturday, isn't it? Isn't it a gala dinner on Saturday?
I think it is. Yeah. And we will certainly give you a response. I'm not sure we'll be able to make it, but we're certainly very happy to publicise the event. And that comes from Sean, who's from Burton-on-Trent. Sean, thank you very much indeed.
Okey-dokey.
Right, big box here, so I'm going to get stuck into this, OK?
OK.
You know, find out what's in
Who's
here.
that addressed to?
It's addressed to the show.
The show?
Yes.
Well, so can you just read it out?
Eh?
Just read it out.
Well, no, because...
Why can't you just read it out?
Look, I'm in now. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, well,
thank you.
I just want... people like to know how it's been addressed and who it's from and all
Well,
that.
it just says the show.
The show?
Yeah, TalkSport, Hatfield.
That's how it gets here?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I smell a rat. I smell a rat.
I'm not going to open this again, I'm afraid.
Why not?
It's got some undigested food in it.
Undigested food?
Yeah, it looks
what do you
horrible.
mean?
Hang on.
What do you mean undigested food?
It says here, "Dear Mike, sorry about the delay, but finally made it close. World Champion 16 haggis and World Champion pie 17 uncooked."
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to donate this to you.
You're going to donate it to me? Well, I think it's addressed to me, isn't it?
No, it's not addressed to you.
It is addressed to me.
Scottish
This is something
stuff.
I've been expecting, right?
Yeah.
Here's the address. It says Mike Graham, TalkSport, Hatfields, London SE18DJ.
It's from Mark Chisholm, so I don't want to know about haggis.
Well,
thank you.
I've been expecting this. Well, why did you pretend it was not addressed to me?
Well, I didn't.
You did.
No,
you said that it was addressed to the show.
It got put into the Postman Pork.
How long have you been hiding
bag.
it for?
I haven't been hiding it at all. No. That looks horrible, doesn't it? I mean, I'm sorry, we're going to have to dispose of that right away.
I must admit, it doesn't look great.
No, it doesn't look great, no. And there's a rather unpleasant odour coming off it as well.
Well, I can't smell anything coming
off it.
There's the haggis. The haggis will be all right. I'm not sure what the other thing is.
You take it home, mate, you wish. Not for me. Right, this is a Postman Pork one. Postman Porky, it says.
Oh, yeah.
Which is even better than Postman Pork. It comes from Windsor Castle, The Long Walk. Well, it comes from Windsor anyway. I didn't think the Queen's writing to me just yet.
It seems we mean just yet.
Right.
What makes you think? Do you see her driving a Jag the other day?
Saw her driving a Jag, yeah.
I didn't see it wasn't an F pace though, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was an old. I think it was an X type. Actually,
I couldn't see.
Right now, this is instant Irish accent gum. Radically changes the way you speak. Works instantly, fresh on the tongue, like mist off the cliffs of Moher. Flawless accent. Moher.
Where's Moher?
I have no idea. It must be in Ireland somewhere. If anybody told you a few years ago that I have a flawless Irish accent, I'd said you're crazy. Hours of hilarious entertainment. Impress your boss, fool your friends.
Yeah.
This claims that if you eat this gum, your accent turns to Irish. How mad is that? Right, the two funny mics. Please find enclosed a little something to help you with your impressions, Porky. Please could you give a shout out to my husband, Nick Bradshaw, who's 40 on Saturday, the 6th of May.
Yeah.
So, have we missed that? Yeah, we've just missed it.
Saturday the 6th of May was last Saturday.
We were due to go abroad on Monday, but is unable to travel due to illness. Well, I'm very sorry about that. I know a shout out on the podcast would cheer him up. Many thanks. We both really love the show. Sophie Bradshaw in Cleethorpes.
Very
nice.
nice.
Thank you very much for that. It's very kind of you, Sophie. We'll make use of that a bit later on.
You ever been to Cleethorpes?
Cleethorpe? No,
Yeah.
I don't think I have, no.
No.
Right, OK, let's have a look at this one here. This is addressed to the two mics,
Yeah.
so it's half me and half him, so to speak.
Half me and half him?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's have a look in here.
Yeah.
Right, dear two mics, did you watch the Man United game against Swansea? Free kick against Man United from 25 yards, Herrera went back. Yeah, OK, that's all interesting.
Which game was that?
United and Swansea.
No, I know, but a while ago, right?
Right, this is from, a bit of a while ago. This is dated 2nd of May, so it's not that long ago. From Karen, Forfar, Angus, Scotland. Did you enjoy the biscuits that she sent us?
Yes.
Well, I'm sure we did. Thank you very much indeed.
We did
indeed.
In fact, not only did we enjoy them, but lots of other people did as well, because there was a lot of them.
Yes. Would you believe, Mike, there was a lady on parade. She's in the Royal Navy. She was related to Captain Bligh, mutiny on the Bounty. This is at last year's Remembrance Parade at the Cenotaph. Well, that's very kind of you, Ken. Thanks very much indeed. Right. And it's always nice to to get correspondence from our regular listeners, of
Got
course.
this from Ben, who says, that new intro to Postman Pork doesn't sound like Porky. Sounds like an imposter.
Yeah, it does. I think
Heaven
it is an
forbid.
imposter. I don't know who it is.
No, it's definitely you.
I don't know where we found it.
Yeah, it's definitely you.
Right. Dear Two Mikes, heard you speaking about your favourite films. My favourite films, excuse me, are The Deer Hunter, Dan Busters, 633 Squadron.
Right.
I can imagine Mike Parry in one of these bombers. And this comes from Karen, who's the same lady who's just written the previous letter.
Oh, you just read one of hers out?
Yeah, well, she sent me another one
You
here.
sent another one?
She said,
editing is required.
I would like Porky to imagine himself in one of those bombers with the final bomb to blow up the Nazi factory, which was making heavy water. I think Porky would like to have been on the mission to sink the Bismarck. Well, that's very kind of you, Karen. Thank you very much indeed. You keep writing. Right, now, totally separate package here. I don't know who this is from, but we're going to find out. So we're going to tear into it.
Okay.
And it's addressed to me, Postman Pork, at the Two Mikes.
Right,
yeah.
so you read that one out.
Yeah, TalkSport Towers.
Uh-huh.
Right, let me have a look here. Porkies. Somebody sent me some kind of DVD. The hilarious, rowdy and raunchy insight into the zany antics of 6 sex-mad American teenagers. Well, I shouldn't be reading
Porky's,
this sort of
is
stuff
that
out.
the movie, Porky's? That's an old film, that.
Is it an old film? Yeah,
You must have seen Porky's, surely.
No, I haven't. No, I don't watch films like that.
Really?
Right, this comes from Andy from Malvern in Worcestershire, that
Malvern
is.
in
I used to live
Worcestershire,
near there, in Redditch.
There you go.
Huge fan and daily podcast listener. Dear Mr. Porky, stumbled across an enclosed DVD the other weekend. First thing came to mind was you, so I'll send it to the Portmeister. It's comedy and I vaguely remember it some years ago. On a separate note, I've been trying to convince my wife, Sarah, to accompany me to one of the Two Mikes' future live events, though she's not convinced it's a good idea.
Uh-huh.
I was hoping you could maybe offer her a few words that might do the trick and convince her that, in fact, an excellent idea. Well, it is an excellent idea, and thank you very much indeed for your present, Andy. And as for your wife, Sarah, we'll see you in New York. I'm sure you can get out there for that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so much mail here. I don't know where to start next.
Well, I
but
don't think
look,
we can do any more.
yeah,
We've run out of time.
Here, hang on. One here just first.
Do one more.
A book. I'm getting a book out of here.
A book, yeah.
Right, let's have a look, see what we've got. It's Chelsea FC.
Yeah.
In the swinging 60s, football's first rock and roll club.
Yes.
It's all about the King's Road and all that.
Yeah.
The only problem is, I haven't got a note from who this is from, but
Yeah.
thank you anyway.
That's
I've
an old
pre-opened
one, I think.
this.
That,
Oh,
isn't
here.
I think that's an old one, isn't it?
No, it's not an old one at
Yeah,
all.
I think so.
It's, Dear Mike, please find a close copy of my husband's book.
Yes.
It's mentioned my email. Oh,
This
I
is from
see.
the lady we met in rugby
Greg
last
Tessa.
year.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it says it's from, what's the lady's name? The surname's Tessa, is
Yeah.
it? Joanne or Ginny or something like that. See at the bottom of the letter there? Ginny? Yeah.
Gianni, isn't it?
Gianni, yeah. No, it's a lady's name, so it's Ginny, I think, yeah. So,
No, I
look,
don't think it is.
you know, there's an official letter here, by the way, addressed to me. I don't know what it's about. Oh, yeah, give me that back.
Official
That's
letter,
it,
maybe
yeah.
it's some kind of bill.
Yeah, could be a bill. Let's have a look. Yeah, what is it? Here we go. Mike Parry. No, it's a proper note.
What do you mean a proper note?
Well, it's telling me about some family tragedy, to be honest, and it's all related to guide dogs for the blind, which we'll get
your
around
family.
to looking. Many thanks for your time to read
Yeah.
this letter and any assistance you're able to apply.
Many
Kind
thanks
regards.
for your time to not read the
Yeah,
letter.
no. It's Mark Harvey, Guide Dogs for the Blind Association. And
Uh-huh.
of course, we'll pay this some attention. And if we can possibly help Mark, we certainly will, because that's what we're
All
here
right.
for, okay?
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was Postman
okay.
Pork. Thank you very
Certainly
much indeed.
was, yeah.
If you've
yeah.
been watching it live
not
on
many,
Facebook.
Not many good presents, actually, this week.
When you say good presents,
Well,
that's
you
obviously
know,
not
like
the
a
point,
few
is
good
it?
letters.
You
One
say
here,
that
see
you
what
like
this
letters.
says here.
Why do you keep opening them?
We know a filthy
You know
cheap
we-
Parry's on the quiz, so please find enclosed a unique crib note hider for your personal use. That's from some guy called Phil Grouden.
Really?
Hey, Phil, if you
Well-
write to me, I want a fan letter, not some
Why can't you
insulting.
Why can't you? That's what you get for reading things without
We
checking
all
them.
know what a filthy cheap Parry's on the
Yeah.
quiz.
That's very harsh. You can't start ripping things up on
Get
Postman
that
Pork.
treatment, that, mate.
That's ridiculous. You know, thank you very much indeed for everybody that sent stuff in. We'll get more of you on the next time we do Postman Pork.
World won't wait, watch you shake, but honey, I don't blame you. And I still love you, New York. And I still love you, New York. New York. I remember
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes coming up.
Yep.
Heroes and villains very, very shortly. Thanks to everybody, as I said, who sent stuff in, especially to Mark Chisholm, who's got a note here saying it doesn't sound like it went down too well. Cook the pie. Well, the trouble is, Mark, that the
Yeah.
pie has kind of slightly disintegrated.
Congealed, I would say, is the word.
It's not really congealed, but it's kind of broken itself open in transit, I'm afraid. So it's not really something that I could take out and cook, because I'm sure, as much as it would have been really, really nice to eat, it's been in the old the system maybe a little bit too long.
Yes.
So it's kind of all crunched up and there's leakage going on. So the haggis, however, I will certainly enjoy, because I'm sure that I could have a bit of haggis for breakfast this morning.
Indeed.
So I'll do that. So thank you very much indeed for sending in. It is always the risky run when you send sort of perishable items by post.
It is. But we do want to thank you for your efforts. Thank you, everybody. And particularly, what's that guy's name? Mark?
It's Mark.
Who sent you the pie.
He's in Jedburgh.
Yeah, you sent it with the Jedburgh. It's a lovely part of the world. That's Northumberland.
No, it's not. It's in Scotland.
Is it just over the border?
It's in the borders, as
Borders,
they call it.
that's right. Yeah. And
not far from Hoyk, where they make all the Lyle sweaters.
Oh, okay. So it's very good of you to send us these things. We really do appreciate it. It's just that sometimes, the transportation of goods can sometimes fail. But there we are. Thank you very much, everybody.
Matt says this: I was going to send a little something in to Porky for what he says is Ask Porky, but I think he means Porky Postman Pork.
Yes, that's right.
But after that little show of ungratefulness, I may not bother.
Oh, really? What show of ungratefulness?
I presume he means when you ripped up that guy's
letter.
Well,
the guy sends me a note saying I'm a cheat in the quiz, and crikey, the only cheat round here is you.
Well, you see, that's a very unfortunate way to try and cover up your appalling behaviour.
Yes. Now,
by
listen,
telling everybody that I'm the cheat.
Talking about your haggis, of course, which you will probably enjoy, because I know you like a bit of haggis. I like a bit of haggis, actually, as well.
Yeah.
Have you got into this new phenomenon yet, which maybe we'll have to try out to see if it works? You know that quite often people say we go on a pub crawl, which is a bit of an old-fashioned idea about going to several different pubs in the same night.
Is that something that people don't do anymore, then?
Well, I don't think so, do they?
I think so.
We don't do it anymore.
Well, we don't, but I think, that's because we are no longer at the cutting edge of what the zeitgeist is, right? But I think there's plenty of people that go out and go from one place to another drinking.
But anyway, at our age, what we should now be doing is the dinner crawl.
The dinner crawl.
You go to one restaurant for your starter, you go to another restaurant for your main meal, and you go to a third restaurant for your sweet.
Well, I don't fancy the sound of that, but I'm sure there'll be lots of people who will do that, because some people just want to do something which is meant to be new and trendy.
Yes.
I remember there was one guy who was once married to Dennis Stein, I think his name was, very briefly married to Elizabeth Taylor, sort of in between the two Larry Fortensky marriages.
Right, okay.
And who I had to track around New York at one point.
He wasn't the senator, was he?
No, he wasn't, no. He was the guy who was kind of the least salubrious of all of the guys that she married.
Yeah.
And he was well known for being very tight.
I thought it was Fortensky, because he was a builder.
Well, yeah, he was a builder, stroke lorry driver.
Yeah,
but no, this guy was even worse, because he was a kind of hanger-on in New York society.
Oh, right.
He didn't really have a pot to do anything in,
right.
as it were.
Yeah.
And his speciality was to dine with different groups of people in the same restaurant. So he would go to Elaine's, and he would sit down with one group of people and have his starter, and he would be all hail fellow well met. Then he would say, I've just got to go over and see some people. And he'd go over there, and they'd invite him to have a course with them.
Why would they invite him to sit down with him?
Because he was a sort of quite a witty, raconteur
sort of
guy.
Type guy.
But what people soon started to work out about him was that the reason he was doing this because he wasn't paying for anything.
Never paid for
So
anything.
he never paid for his starter, he never paid for his main course. Then he would go off and have a sweet with somebody else, a couple of liqueurs, and it turned out that he was never actually putting his hand in his pocket for any of it.
Really?
Yeah, so it was awful. Absolutely awful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not good at all.
No.
That apparently companies now set up these ideas if you're going to... So, I mean, if I walked into I remember once being in a restaurant, right, when I was broke. It was in the northeast of England.
Yes.
And it was like at the end of a long weekend of drinking.
Yeah.
And we only had enough money left to go into a restaurant and order soup and a bread roll.
Okay.
So
this could be very filling.
Well, we went into this restaurant and we sort of sat down and we didn't look too good because we'd been drinking for 2 days, you know what I mean?
You could say that again. You probably didn't smell too good either.
Well, no, I look after my personal hygiene, but I think it was, my eyes
but
were
I mean, had
swiveled.
you been anywhere to sleep at any point?
Oh, yeah. I'd slept for a few hours overnight on Saturday night, somewhere, I don't know where.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm sure that maybe not everyone, you may have been fine, but not everyone in the company would have been.
Well, there was only 2 of us. All the rest had fallen off and gone home at lunchtime Sunday, no stamina or anything, We got to about 7 or 8 o'clock on a Sunday night. We went to this restaurant, sort of Italian-type place, and said hello, and they looked at us very suspiciously. And said,
so did you get some minestrone?
Yes, no, said, table for 2, please. So I sat down. So the waiter came and said, what would you like? So I said, I think it was minestrone, actually. We'll have minestrone soup. Oh, I think it was vegetable. We'll have vegetable soup, please. Yes, OK, sir. And what else? No, that'll do.
All right.
What? No, that's all I want. How much is it? And it was like, in those days, it was,
a couple of quid or something.
No, it was £1.40 or something,
Yeah.
And I said, I've only got £1.50.
Right.
And they threw me out. yeah, literally, yeah.
Imagine now, I mean, it'd be like Pretty Woman, wouldn't it? You go back now with loads of good cash coming out of your pockets.
Well,
you go and order a load of food and then go, actually, you know what? I don't want to have it now because you threw me out of it once when I was penurious.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be the same restaurant these days, I shouldn't think. But anyway, there
I thought you were going to tell me about another trend, which is all over one of the papers this morning.
What's that?
Which is called rib cage bragging, which I don't think you and I would have been involved in for many, many a year.
What is it?
Well, it's basically loads of pictures of women who are posing and showing off their ribs.
Oh,
because
God,
they're
why?
so skinny. That you can see their rib cages.
Oh, that doesn't excite me at all.
Doesn't it?
Not at all.
Well, there's Bella Hadid, right?
Yeah.
Who's got 12.7 million followers on Instagram, supermodel from America.
Yes.
Mylene Klass, everybody knows, right?
Yeah, I know Mylene.
She's got 192,000 followers. Chloe Madeley, who is, of course, a fitness fiend.
Yes.
Daughter of Richard and Judy. Nicole Scherzinger, Lewis Hamilton's old girlfriend.
Yeah.
Kate Beckinsale, right? Who is, of course, the
Nicole
daughter.
Scherzinger's not particularly, skinny lady, is she? I mean,
well, she's showing off her ribs in this picture.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Rita Ora. Well, it's obviously the new thing, but
Must be.
It's not going to be something that we'll be able to do even if we wanted to.
No, exactly.
I've shown off my ribs for many a year.
Exactly, I totally agree.
Now, I've got one here from James, who actually sent this in earlier. He said, "Hi, guys, could you wish my son Charlie a belated 11th birthday, please?
Right.
I sent you a Facebook message, but I don't think you've seen it yet.
Right.
You definitely haven't seen a Facebook message yet, but we'll try and get on top of some of those Facebook messages over the course of the next few days.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the young chap again?
His name is Charlie.
Charlie.
And he's 11.
Oh, 11, right. Okay, Charlie, at 11 years of age, you're going to have a wonderful life in front of you. Have a great birthday.
There you go.
Yes.
There's a lot of 11-years listening to this show now, you know.
Yeah, are they? Yeah.
Well, a lot of my son's friends listen to it.
It's educative, you know what I mean?
Educative, yes. You could say that.
Yes.
Educational, even.
That's right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. This guy, Ben, the new intro to Postman Pork doesn't sound like porky, an imposter porky, maybe. Heavens forbid. Yeah, well, I'm going to get to the bottom of that and find out what exactly happened there, because I am unaware of things myself.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'd have to say that was you, even though maybe not as good as the first one, the original one.
Yeah,
but it's
exactly.
certainly definitely you.
Exactly. It says, remember, Porky, when you get to New York and you're talking about men or guys or anybody male in New York City, they are called dudes. Well, I'm not sure they are, actually.
They're not, actually, no.
Yeah,
I think you're thinking more of Los Angeles.
I think you are.
California.
Yeah, absolutely. Now then, I'll tell you what I was going to tell you about.
What were you going to tell me about?
You
know what the time is, don't you?
Yeah, don't worry about the time.
Well, I'm worried about the time.
There's a lot of wealth issues in the show tonight because of the Sunday Times Rich List.
Yes, well, we've got heroes and villains coming up. I mean, you can make all the heroes in your week's supply of heroes.
Could do.
Rich people, if you wish.
Could do. And all the villains are the poor people.
Yeah, well, you would probably go with that. But we're going to do that next. This
Good
is
idea.
Talk Sport.
Yeah.
Music can only mean one thing, of course, heroes and villains, and it is by the Beach Boys. It's not very summery out there yet, but you never know. It might get warmer as we get towards the middle of May.
Exactly.
Right now, though, as we said, it's about 9 to 6.
Yes.
I think in my favour, so you can make it 9-7.
Yes, could do.
If you win it.
Yeah.
The two of each will be judged, of course, by Mr. Levine behind the glass.
Yes.
Do you want to start off, or would you like me to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll go first. My first villain, okay? And I have a bit of a history of this one. The biggest villains for me this week are the Venke family, who own Blackburn Rovers.
Yes.
Years ago in my independent TV venture, we had a group of Blackburn fans came down to alert us to the fact that it was going to go horribly wrong at Blackburn, and that was just months after the Venkes took over.
Yes.
And when they found out that the actual chairman of the company was a lady who lived in India and was never intended to come to the club, they said, how can you have such a faraway, hands-off owner? And I said, well, you've got to give him a chance. And Jerome Anderson was involved, if you remember. A man who one time was interested in representing us.
Yes.
And we said that we were OK. And he played a big part in introducing them to the club. But the Venkes themselves have been running it for the last 5-6 years now, 7 years nearly, and it's been a disaster.
But they've been appointing lots of different people as well, haven't they? Some guy yesterday resigned, who was the head of operations and football.
That's right.
Nobody knows what he was doing.
It's just a fiasco, and it's ruined a terrible club Blackburn, of course, being the only winners of the Premier League to slip down two leagues of in the English Football League.
Exactly.
And dreadful.
And who knows how far they will fall.
Might go down again.
To be honest, a lot of Blackburn fans are very worried about that. Yeah, I'd say that's quite a good choice. My first villain of the weekend is going to be the organisers of the London Marathon.
Right.
Because as you may know, a guy called Tom Harrison is the bloke who dressed up in a gorilla suit and decided to crawl around the course on his hands and knees,
that's right.
raising about £25,000-30,000 for the Gorilla Foundation, or the Gorilla Organisation, I should say, to try and save the gorillas, right? Now, he's a police officer. He's 41 years old. He started at 10:34 a.m. on Sunday, crossed the finish line 11:45 a.m. the following Saturday.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, because he was doing it on his hands and knees, he's doing it very slowly, and so when he was not actually crawling, he would spend the night at friends' houses on the route, right?
Right.
Now, as a result of the fact that he finished the marathon and he raised all this money, you would think that he would get a medal.
Yes.
But he doesn't get a medal because apparently he was too slow for the organisers of the race to give him a runner's medal.
Right.
So he doesn't get the actual accolade of doing the amazing job that he did. All he's got to show for it is about 30,000 quid that he raised for the Gorilla Organisation and some very bruised and cut hands and knees.
Yes.
And I just think they should have been a slightly less sort of po-faced about it and given him a winner's medal. And just said, well done, you crossed the finish line.
Yeah, okay.
So I think they're a bit... shall we say, sort of, small-minded, mealy-mouthed.
Okay. I think the guy, to be honest, to take all that time to complete the London Marathon, I mean, I know it's for charity and all that kind of stuff, but I just think it takes all the purpose of the damn thing away if a guy's still doing it 9 days later. But anyway.
Well, yeah, but it's for a good cause and he got a lot of great publicity out of it.
Okay.
They should have given him something.
Okay, fair enough, fine. Right, I'm going to, unusually, now... plump for my second villain, okay?
Okay, go on.
My second villain is a guy called Andy Nash. And Mr. Nash is the chairman of Somerset Football Club, okay? Sorry, Cricket Club.
Right.
And the Somerset chairman is part of a group of people who've decided to increase the price of alcohol at the new 2020 competition because they've been unable to contain drunken behaviour at the competition in the past.
All right. So they think by putting the price up, it's going to stop people drinking?
Yeah. So that means everybody now suffers that the price of the drink is going to be put up at the 2020 blast matches, as they're called, because, of course, they're very fast cricket and great entertainment. People love going to them, having a few beers. Everybody suffers because these guys can't do what they should do, and that is to make sure they target those who are causing the trouble and discipline, ban or throw out miscreants who can't hold their drink.
Yes.
One of the problems is going to be that a pint of beer, which at some of the larger grounds has been costing £5 in the past, will be increased to £8 or £9.
Really?
Yeah.
But that's not going to stop people drinking,
Well, it's outrageous. I mean, that you go to a sporting event, one thing you do expect is reasonably priced drink where drinking is acceptable, and it's certainly acceptable at outdoor, open-air, summer-based cricket matches.
Yes,
so
I
think it's dreadful.
The problem is, I suppose, is people are just out in the sunshine all day and they're drinking all day.
Yes.
It's not so much the price that's the problem, it's the fact that they're just drinking too much.
They've got to control the behaviour, not the price of the drink.
Indeed.
Right.
And my first hero of the weekend is Harry Redknapp. Harry Redknapp, of course, was brought in by Birmingham.
Yes,
we talked an awful lot about what managers are brought in to do and what sometimes owners don't do. And in fact, we saw at Middlesbrough 2 months ago, they sacked their manager, didn't bring anybody else in.
Yes.
Birmingham were a bit smarter than that. They'd had Gianfranco Zola, of course, who had a terrible time there. Really only won, I think, a couple of games and just had them edging very, very close to relegation. Harry Redknapp was hired. He came in. He had 3 games in charge. He won 2 of them, including the last one, and therefore saved them from going down into League One.
Right.
Which, if you're a Birmingham City fan, you have to say that makes Harry Redknapp a massive hero. He's now meeting with Birmingham City's owners. He met some, I think, on Sunday night as to whether or not he stays up there for the duration, whether he stays up there for the next season. But you'd have to say, what a fantastic job he's done.
Yes.
So he's my first hero of the week.
He has, in a very short period of time.
Absolutely right.
Okay, my first hero is Fraser Forster, the goalkeeper at Southampton. I just thought that the way he psyched James Milner was spectacular.
Yeah, he's never missed a penalty for Liverpool, right?
Never missed a penalty for anybody. He's taken 7 penalties during his professional career for various clubs, starting with Leeds and working through Manchester City and then Liverpool. And the way Forster, I mean, he's a giant of a man. He went and stood over him, and who knows what he said to him? Who knows? But he intimidated.
Do you not think that's a bit more on the side of sort of gamesmanship, bad sportsmanship?
Well, no,
because really make him a hero.
No, because I don't think the penalty should have been awarded in the first place. Nobody knows what the penalty was awarded awarded for. You know, people saying, "Oh, it was handball."
People kept saying it was handball.
Others said, "Oh, well, no, but he fell down and he fell over." In fact, the referee didn't know why I'd given the penalty in the end because he had so many conflicting points of view. Nevertheless, Fraser Forster not only psyched James Milner into, and James Milner took a good penalty, but Fraser Forster anticipated where he was going to put it.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind they've both been members of the same England squads, right? So
Yes.
he might have had some inside information, and he saved it. And I think that was the most heroic act I saw in football over the weekend. Yeah.
I think heroic might be going a little bit far.
Well,
to
I'm
be honest.
sorry, but we're doing heroes and villains.
Psyching somebody out of a penalty
Well,
shootout.
but saving it and saving them a point at Anfield, I thought was heroic.
But you said also using nefarious reasons for doing it.
I didn't say nefarious reasons. I said he felt aggrieved that he didn't think the penalty should have been awarded.
No, okay. Well, certainly interfering with the man taking the penalty should not be allowed.
Yes.
My second villain is going to be Maria Sharapova. This weekend, of course, because Eugenie Bouchard came out a couple of weeks ago and said that this is a woman who should not be being allowed back into the general tennis population.
Yes.
The pair then faced off against each other in the second round of the Madrid Open, right?
Yes.
And the Canadian winning an amazing game, actually, 7-5, 2-6, 6-4 at the Madrid Open. And there was a bit of enmity between the two women beforehand because Maria Sharapova has been a much more successful player than Eugenie Bouchard.
Yes.
And some tennis players have sort of supported Maria Sharapova in the fact that she's been allowed back into the sport with wild card allowances and all that sort of thing. But Eugenie Bouchard has been very, very straight about it and said that she's a cheater and she should not be allowed to come back after being banned for 15 months for using the dope that she was accused of using.
Right.
So I'm saying that Maria Sharapova's finally had a comeuppance and that makes her a villain.
Okay.
That's my two villains.
Right, okay. My second hero, and I say this really biting my lip, but nevertheless it's well-deserved, is Rafa Benitez.
Oh, yeah.
And that's because at the very end, he did actually win the championship for Newcastle United.
He did.
Now, he'd won it halfway through the season. He lost it 2/3 of the way through the season to Brighton, who put enormous pressure on him. But then, because he's been around and his experience in football so long, he knew that he could tell his team, no, you play until the last minute of the last game, because that's when it could all change. And it did change in the last minute of the last game of the Brighton game, when Villa got the equaliser. Because at Newcastle, they weren't even celebrating being champions, and I saw him wandering up and down the touchline, and somebody leaned over, whispered in his ear, and he suddenly threw his arms up and realised that Villa had equalised. So to use his experience to take it right to the end and tell his team, no, you could still be champions, I thought was marvellous bit of management. And I have to say, he set himself up for a fall when he decided to stay on at Newcastle. And if they hadn't got promotion, and really if they hadn't even been champions, it could have dented his reputation. But you can only call him a hero for what he's done for the people in Newcastle.
No, indeed. And I'm going to go down a similar route by saying that Arsene Wenger, actually, this weekend, who's been getting a lot of stick all year, should be given some kind of credit. Not necessarily as a hero, but certainly as a hero for Arsenal fans, because don't forget, he's never actually beaten Jose Mourinho in a competitive league game in any club that Jose Mourinho has managed. Of course, there was a situation with the Community Shield.
That's right.
But that doesn't really count. But as far as the hoodoo is concerned, after many, many, many years of not ever being able to beat a team managed by Jose Mourinho, he's now managed it. Mourinho, I think, sort of rather soiled the pitch by sort of saying, oh, well, I didn't really care about this game and I don't think it was very important. But for Arsenal, who could still, by a bizarre sort of alchemy, get into the top four.
But can you really call Arsene Wenger a hero under any circumstances this season?
I think I can, because this is the only chance that he's had to be called a hero, because he's had such a rotten season. But I mean, if one thing that he has done, he will end up coming second behind Spurs. That's not going to work. But at least he's managed to get the hoodoo off his back, the monkey off his back of Jose Mourinho, which I think is worth mentioning and worth recording. So he's my second hero of the weekend. And that, I think both of it takes care of both of them, doesn't it?
Right, it certainly does.
So for me, it's Arsene Wenger and it's Harry Redknapp, and of course the London Marathon are the villains, as is Maria Sharapova. And yours, you want to just recap?
Yeah, my heroes are Rafa Benitez and Fraser Forster, both for great individual performances over the weekend, which resulted in great achievements. And the villains are Andy Nash, Somerset chairman, hiking beer to £9 a pint, or head of the committee that's doing that, and the Venke family, who have ruined Blackburn Rovers, a magnificent football club.
They certainly have. We'll find out from Mr. Levine which one he's going to choose right after this on TalkSport. We've just had heroes and villains. Mr. Dave Levine has joined us to tell us what he thinks. Let me just read you a couple of initial thoughts on Twitter. Anthony says this: I'm sorry, but that was appalling gamesmanship by Forster. Nobody should do that to another professional. G. O'Hara says Porky putting unsportsmanlike conduct in the hero bracket is priceless. And then Ben says, good shout, Ray Redknapp, MG. He won as many games in only 3 attempts as Zola did in 25. And Ben says he's a happy Birmingham fan.
Yeah, and there's one here. Porky had to win heroes and villains. Anyone who tries to limit bladderation activity must get the vote, OK?
That's from Becky, isn't it?
That's from Becky, but that's a bit of a confused one, that. She says, Porky had to win heroes and villains, but anyone who tries to limit bladderisation activity must get the vote. I'm sorry, but I don't think he should be voted popular for that.
Well,
I think he should be voted unpopular.
Well, no, she's agreeing that you're voting them as villains.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's the point.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you're having trouble with your comprehension.
No, I'm not. No.
Well, let's ask Mr. Levine for the...
Yeah, I understand that, but it wasn't clear, yeah. Right, OK.
Clear to me.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. I have the envelope here.
Why do you always get the envelope?
It's because David sits nearer to me because he comes in through the door on my right.
Well, you mean the only door in the studio?
That's right, yeah. He's not going to come in through the window, is he?
He's not going to come in through the bathroom window.
I snuck in through the hallway of the TV.
Well, in that case, yours was a stupid question in the first place. Why does he sit nearer to me? Because there's only one chair and it's on my right.
Incorrect. I did not ask you why does he sit near to you.
Yeah.
I asked you why he always gives the envelope
because
to you.
He's sitting to me. Right, I've just opened the envelope. Right, I'll take it out.
OK, we've already seen you opening loads of envelopes.
I think this will have a joke about the winner is Mike in it again. But anyway, it says on the front, winner is...
Every week's the same joke.
I open it and it says, Mike...
Yeah.
Parry!
Really?
Woo, 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 woo.
Oh, well, that'll make you happy.
And I think it's very well deserved as well, David. Perhaps you'd like to explain your reasons.
It was very, very close. Yeah. I think the Venke families are overall probably the biggest losers. Out of the
biggest
four.
Villains, surely.
Sorry, yeah, the biggest villains. I also think that better than Sharapova being a loser, I think Eugenie Bouchard could have been a hero.
She could have been. You could have made it go either way.
Yeah, I think Rafa Benitez and Harry Redknapp equally weighted. I think Forster's gamesmanship is all good. You know, do anything you can to win.
Yeah.
So we know where your moral compass is.
Well, for his Southampton fans and followers who went up to Liverpool, of course, yeah.
You know, Wenger...
If you're a supporter of somebody who does that, then of course, but it's not something that you would generally call somebody a hero for.
Well, he would, because the penalty should never have been awarded.
Well, I can't see Wenger being a hero for winning what it was essentially...
That's just because you're a Spurs fan.
No, but he won was essentially a training match where both teams barely tried. It was an awful game of football. And he won one game after an awful season. I couldn't even have him in my heroes column at all.
You'd never have him in a heroes column, though, would you?
Probably not. But after the season he's had so far, can you blame me?
No, I can't blame you at all. I, of course, will stand by the announcements and the decisions that you've made. Unlike Porky, who normally calls you some kind of oath at this point.
Not at all.
A gerrymandering buffoon.
Not
Spurs-supporting idiot. So I wouldn't do any of that.
Not at all.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
9-7 then.
Thank you.
So as we get towards the end of the season, you might be able to tie it up at 9 apiece.
Yeah, might be able to. Indeed, I'm on the comeback trail.
Although, bizarrely, we're not here next week, are we?
We're not here next week.
No.
Now, why is this?
Well, because there's some procedural and matters that I need to take care of.
Yeah, that's right. There certainly are.
Which involve me not working for a few days.
That's right. So we're not going to be here next week, OK? The week after, we, in fact, will only be doing 1 or possibly 2 night shows.
Yes.
And from June the 1st, I think it's fair to let the audience know, we will be permanently doing the mid-morning show on Talk Sport. And the warm-up on Saturdays.
When you say permanently, we'll be doing it for June, won't we?
For the whole of June. And the warm-up on Saturdays, which means effectively you'll be getting us 6 daytime shows a week.
It may be too much for people, that, you know.
Sorry?
It may be too much for people.
They can't get enough of us, in my view.
True? Well, in your view, but I mean, you know, you can get too much of a good thing.
6 daytime shows a week for at least 4 weeks. And...
You'll be taking a long holiday.
No, I'm not taking any holiday.
Of course you won't take a holiday, because you want to work all the time.
No, that's not necessarily true, but... and then we will see how the rest of the summer unfolds.
Yes.
So it's all very exciting, and we're looking forward to it.
Todd says this: Porky's was better. He deserves to win for a change.
Thank you.
Sorry, MG.
Thank you.
Hey guys, listen, I'm perfectly happy to let Porky win once in a while, because otherwise it gets a bit boring.
Yes.
And he gets terribly, terribly upset when he doesn't win. Yeah. And it gets really, really tedious when he moans and groans all the time.
Look at this guy here, David Knight. Boo, Porky. You lose for predictable. Why have you moved that? You lose for predictable. Where's it gone?
What do you mean, where's it gone?
It just jumped.
Oh, right.
You lose for predictable slagging off of Liverpool. I often support you, but very cheap shots and weak effort today.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't slagging off Liverpool. I was praising Fraser Forster. It wouldn't have mattered if Southampton were playing Everton or Liverpool or Manchester United. The point is, the goalkeeper, a giant of a man, stood like Stonewall Jackson against what he thought was an injustice and saved his team a point at Anfield, which is a very difficult place to go and play.
Yes.
So it was nothing personal against Liverpool at all.
Well, I think they've seen through your incredible bias, you see. Steve the Cabbie says, oh dear, this decision by Mr. Levine once again goes down the football fan route. What happened to impartiality? Well, there's only one person impartial in here, and I'm afraid that's me. Here's one from Adrian, who says, Mike Parry Mike Graham not winning tonight because he picked Arsenal and Arsene Wenger. And Mr. Levine is a Spurs fan. Well, it does look a bit like that, I'm afraid.
You can't call the judges corrupt. They're incorruptible.
Well, that's what you do every week.
No,
when
they're
you lose.
incorruptible.
Here's one from Westrian who says, MG, you lost it when you mentioned Wenger knowing your producer's allegiance.
Yeah, well.
So everybody sees what happens.
I don't think they do.
Hey, do you know what I did this weekend, by the way?
What did you do?
I didn't tell you this. We did a bit of spring cleaning.
Oh, yes.
And did the old cleaning out of the shed.
Oh, yes.
Scenario, which is one of those rituals that you go through every sort of springtime.
Sure.
And discover all sorts of stuff you have to throw out, including the beginnings of a wasp's nest.
Oh, no.
Which I managed to get rid of. I had a great kill on a wasp, right? There was this one wasp coming in, and you could see him building it.
Yeah.
You know, it just made a little sort of circle.
Yeah.
And they're very clever the way they bring paper in and they sort of use their own
did you kill it?
saliva. I hit it with a saw.
Oh, God.
What do you mean, oh, God?
Well, they're all God's creatures.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. You've often talked about killing all sorts of things like ants, pouring hot water on them. You've talked about killing other God's creatures that you refer to.
Yeah, but that's
only...
only
about setting fire to bats.
That's only when they're getting in the way, so to speak.
Well, you can't have them building a nest in the shed.
Okay, well, why didn't you get that? If I'd have been in your position, I'd have got the flamethrower gun out and just burnt it.
You can't put a
flamethrower. That's painless death.
How is it painless?
Well, you whack a wasp with a sword and you just stun it, really.
Not a sword, a saw.
A saw, yeah.
I haven't got a sword.
Yeah,
I don't own a sword.
And then you just stun it, and then the poor thing dies over the next few hours.
Oh no, I hit it pretty hard, right?
Yeah.
And it was practically dead, and it was on the ground. I just stamped on it.
Oh, that's horrible.
Why
so that's
is that
on
horrible?
the bottom of your shoe now, is it?
No, of course not.
Oh, horrible. So you didn't go back in the house with those shoes on, did you?
Of course not, no.
No.
Well, do you not have any knowledge at all of clearing out a shed?
Well,
I don't think you ever have cleared out a shed.
I don't think I ever have. I don't think
You've
I've ever
never
had
owned a shed?
No, I have had a shed.
How can you never have owned a shed?
I did own a shed. I owned a shed in a place called Carshalton. In fact, the shed's still there.
The shed is?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, what did you have in it?
Gardening equipment.
Gardening equipment?
Yeah, lawnmower.
Did you use it? Or did somebody come around
No, I
and
used
use
it.
for
I
you?
used it.
Did you?
Yeah, I used it. Yeah.
Also found a dead mouse in the shed.
Oh.
Why does this make you squeamish?
Well,
this is just everyday stuff in a country estate.
Now, listen, I want to talk to you about English.
English?
Yeah. Now, how many times I told you
what's his name? Chris Eubank?
No. I want to talk about the language English because, that's a guy, Jean-Claude Juncker, right?
Oh, Mr. Juncker, yes.
Yeah, the man who runs Europe, allegedly.
Yeah. Well, supposedly.
Yeah, unelected. And who has, repeatedly been accused of...
The EU, by the way, has taken on a bit of a sort of a cloak of strength since Mr. Macron was elected.
Well, has it?
Well, yeah, because he's pro the EU.
Yeah, no, but he's very young and inexperienced French politician.
But it doesn't matter. He's now in charge at the Élysée Palace for the next 5 years. If Marine Le Pen had won, it would have put the EU on a much more dodgy footing.
I don't think she was ever going to win, to be honest. But
I don't
anyway,
think so
there
either.
we are. But look, the point is, he's making all the noises now post-Brexit. And remember, this is a man who is alleged to like a glass of champagne with his breakfast. You know what I mean?
Who, Mr. Macron?
No, Mr. Juncker.
Oh,
Mr.
yes.
Juncker.
Yeah, he likes to drink, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Well, it should make him sort of more affable,
and well, you'd have thought so, but he thinks that more people should be talking French than English. So I've just got a dossier here of how important English is in the world. Okay,
right? Does anybody pay any attention to what this guy Juncker says?
No, I don't think so. But he makes a lot of noise and likes to think people do.
Yeah.
1.75 billion businessmen and women learn basic English to communicate with international clients.
Yeah.
Okay. Nokia in Finland, for instance, and electronics giant Samsung in South Korea insist that staff speak fluent English at work. Okay?
Right.
Pays off in Switzerland, where those who speak English earn 18% more than those who don't.
Okay.
In aviation, you know that speaking basic English is now compulsory for pilots and aircraft and air traffic controllers. In literature, our great writers, Charles Dickens, Bronte sisters, have entertained billions across the globe.
What about Emile Zola?
Eh?
What about Emile Zola?
I don't care about Emile Zola.
Well, Emile Zola is just as great a writer as Emily Bronte.
The Charles Dickens and Bronte sisters books have been translated in 120 different languages to countries all around the world.
Well, Emile Zola's been translated into English from French. So
I don't care about Emile Zola.
Well, I know, but whose list is this you're reading?
It's the list I put together.
Is this the Little Englanders
In tourism, England is the first language of the three most travelled nations in the world, which are the UK, the US, and Australia.
Right.
And
who's put this together?
Me.
You?
Me. Yeah. Music and television. There has never been a French pop group who've ever sung a song that's been a hit in French.
In French?
Yeah,
That's
never.
not true.
Never.
There is one.
Go on.
That's Saint-Cat Wow. I can't remember what the actual words are.
They were English.
No, they were French.
No, they were English, honestly. They weren't.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is...
What about Je t'aime?
That was
French.
Yeah, but that wasn't a group or anything. That was just...
Well, it was a hit, though.
No, that's just that drunken guy who went out with Jane Birkin.
Yeah, but it was a hit.
Yeah, but
massive hit. Still selling now.
Well, there's never been a group. I said that to start off with. You put out some individual.
Saint-Cat or whatever it was called. It's definitely a French punk group.
I mean, it's true to say that most of the musical pop classics that have ever been recorded have all been in English.
I'm sure that would be right. So
Mr. Juncker can take all that, put it in his pipe and smoke it, unless his pipe can't get into his mouth because his mouth is already full of a bottle of champagne.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
Okay.
indeed. That was Porky's party political broadcast on behalf of the All England
English-speaking
party.
nation.